Did I click it right? I did click it right.
I
Hello,
didn't open
everybody.
chat. That's
How
what
are
I
we
forgot
doing
to
today? Sorry, I didn't see my daughter at all yesterday. I woke up and she was already gone for school because obviously Monday night stream, and then when I got home from work, she was already asleep. So I had to spend like a few minutes with her this morning before um, she disappeared off to school and I disappeared off to my day. So it it, uh, it sucks when your ship's passing the night with your child. So it was kind of like one of those. Oh, hi, you. I know you. You're like
do.
my spawn or something. So, anyways, good morning. Well, no, hold on. That's not. Good evening to two of you. Good afternoon to one of you. I think it's about noon
There
time
you
for
go.
you, right, Neil? Maybe one, something like that. We're 5 hours off. Noon. It's just afternoon. Yeah, there we go. What's up? How's everybody doing today?
I got coffee.
Good.
I
I've just finished my second coffee, so I'm ready to talk your ass off.
Ooh,
I got chai coffee.
I can't do chai.
I love it.
I watched a couple episodes of what's that show? That show on Apple TV, with the American football coach that goes and teaches football in England. Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso. Have you guys watched any of Ted Lasso? No.
No.
So,
No.
so it's
Supposed to be that thing you're talking about. Supposed to be pretty funny.
it's won apparently a ton of awards. Is what Brittany was telling me. It is pretty funny. It's a pretty good show.
Yeah, I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, the important thing is that he consistently just talks about. He's like coffee. That's no, not coffee. He's like tea. That's disgusting. It's absolutely. He's like I always thought it would taste like brown water, and that's what it tastes like, brown water. And like on a later episode, he's like, so is this like one of those tricks that you do to tourists? Like, you know how you go places and like they trick tourists into doing stupid things? He's like, is that what tea is? And they're like, no, I love it. And he's like, nah, you're lying. And I'm like, yes. Like, this man gets it. It's the man from Kentucky. Oh, no. All right. So as I drink my proper bean juice, good morning, boys. Who wants to remind us where we left off last week? It looks like Jake does. Jake really looks like he wants to do it.
I'm just gonna say to you though, I've spent like $4,000, 4,000 gold on potions that I can make for half price.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of potions.
That is a lot of
Yeah.
potions.
It really,
Good thing you have the haversack.
You hear Viggo coming from like half a mile away. You just hear like the jingle of bottles. You're just like, what's that? Oh, it's the bottle man.
New sheriff in town.
I have
where do we
spent-
leave off last week though?
Break.
Last thing, yeah.
We have 2 weeks free, I think. Was it 2 weeks?
Yes, we do, and then we're going east. We're going east, right?
Yes.
Let me
Yes,
do
you
a
are.
thing.
It's,
Let me do a.
Melissa Isle. And quick question. How do you gentlemen feel about if someone were to disenchant an extra dimensional space, like let's say a Heber's Haversack, does the item no longer function in that whatever was in the sack is now lost in space, like in the extra dimensional
Keep your
space?
mouth shut, Scott.
Or-
No.
or-
hear this.
No.
Or
It
is
becomes a medieval minigun, and you hold it out with the aperture, and it just goes.
I literally
fires
just heard
everything out.
there was someone on TikTok put together a theory of if they filled a bag of holding with as many daggers as you could possibly fit in it, aim it at someone and pull it inside out towards them, what would happen?
You have a whole bunch of daggers just flop on the ground in front of them unceremoniously. Right? You'd be like, that's not, I wasted soap. Damn.
What if you do it on over them?
Then you would have a lot of, oh boy, have a shield. See, look at that. The items are scattered. But what if the item is not necessarily destroyed? What if it's temporarily disabled? like if somebody were to cast Dispel Magic on the item, they just become temporarily unavailable. Just saying.
Maybe the access to whatever is holding them is gone for a bit, and then the access comes back. Like if the tether is not broken, just disabled, the wherever they end up in the astral plane is still there.
Don't you just, when that happens, then you just call up Verizon? Call up Verizon and say, "Hey, my my connection to my my bag of holding's gone. What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're having lots of reports of this. We'll get back to you." And then they put the phone down, and eventually it gets fixed in 4 to 6 days.
That sounds like AT&T.
I don't know what that is. I only know Verizon. Sorry.
Oh.
It's one of those things that, like, I reckon in terms of for making the item not obscenely underpowered, in that you could just dispel magic and then everything in there is gone. I feel like having it be not dispel magic, that's the wrong, into like no magic field or something.
Dispel magic does temporarily disable the effect of the
magic. Temporarily. Then yeah. Like the idea would be it would break the connection to wherever they're stored temporarily. And then once it comes back, they can access the wherever they're stored again.
I like this actually. I can see this working. So what you do, first off, you somehow yeet, fire, throw, get your bag of holding full of daggers, sharp objects, ball bearings, whatever, a really large amount of them, into the center of the people you need to maim, kill, generally disgruntle. At which point your caster then casts Dispel Magic on the bag of holding, which then tears at every single one of its seams and explodes, scattering shrapnel everywhere. As all of these objects appear, attempting to occupy the same space, which physically can't exist, propelling them out.
That's what the person who was saying with the daggers was saying.
Would they propel outwards, or would they just like tatter up the bag and then just sit there unceremoniously in a ball of way too much space inside of it? Like maybe the only thing that propel outwards is a bit of cloth from the or whatever fabric of the.
So you're saying it propels the cloth at like lightning speeds.
I'm just saying if there's
and like burst. People get their throats cut by the bag of holding cloth. Like it's that fast. It's just like.
I'm just saying, what's the propellant in this situation? What is
the fact that the fact that all these objects physically can't stay in the same space, right? So natural law either would meld them into one or propel them away from each other.
Or slightly.
I'm going with propellant. So no, because it generates force, right?
I mean, if you
because there's all these atoms, you know.
If you teleport into a square that's occupied, like let's say you try to cast Dimension Door and you teleport into a wall, you just get shunted 5 feet over.
No, but they've done that to allow for player stupidity, right? Because they know that Jimmy the wizard's going to be like, I'm going to cast Dimension Door and go over there. So maybe... And the DM's going to be like, Jimmy, if you fail this, your atoms will become in the same space as the atoms of a wall, just so you're aware, and it will insta-kill you and that section of the wall. And Jimmy goes, yeah, no, that's fine. Jimmy does it and dies instantly and then says, well, this is a stupid game. What the hell? Why are you doing that? So Wizards of the Coast, and I just like to draw your attention to the name, Wizards of the Coast, bias? Built in a failsafe to Dimension Door.
Yeah, it's one of those things that in D&D there will always be in D&D there will always be aspects that are gamification versus how things would actually work. And I think the shunting to the side is an example of something that is gamification to make it less of a no one would teleport anywhere they can't see otherwise.
Alternatively, Dimension Door is a spell that has a line of spell code in it that says, if I occupy the same space, I get shunted.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there is an argument.
It's magic, sorry.
No. He means the specific rule overrides a generic rule, is what he's saying in that one, which is a rule of D&D. So, yes, I agree with you on that one now.
Anyway, what I was Ashen saying that You said that Dispel Magic would be a temporary thing on Handy Haversack?
Yep.
Why is it temporary? Because
Because
Ashen's
It's how it
saying would
works.
be
It's how it
permanent.
works in Pathfinder. It disables magic items. It
Temporarily.
doesn't destroy them.
Okay, there we go. Cool.
Yep, there is absolutely. So dispel magic. If cast on a magic item, temporarily disables it.
That's cool. I like that. That's
If
less
it's cast
finite.
specifically on a magic item.
Ah, yes. Here is this item I have worked for like months in real life, like months
the object
sessions
that you
to get.
If the
Dispel
object
Magic.
that you target
Oh.
is a magic item, you make a dispel magic check against the item's cast level, DC 11 plus item's cast level. If you succeed, all the magic item properties is suppressed for 1d4 rounds. After which
Oh,
the
that's
item
cool.
the item recovers its magical properties. A suppressed magic item becomes non-magical for the duration. An interdimensional opening, such as a bag of holding, is temporarily closed. All the details are right there.
There we go. So that saying temporary closed is what I was saying. The access to the storage is just gone for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The storage is still there.
So, what you do is you cast Dispel Magic and then Fireball. And then when it's reopened to, it doesn't exist. Therefore, it's just lost in the astral space. So what I need to do is hit Wade, what's his name? Jake, with the 1-2 punch of Dispel Magic and Fireball. So I can destroy all of his potions.
No, thank you.
But are you factoring whether or not his potions are volatile?
This is an amazing recap.
Yeah, I know. Norway is literally foaming at the mouth right now. It's like this was supposed to be a recap, and we just chatted bullshit about who brought up the Handy Haversacks.
It was Jake that did it. So, but
No. He said he had lots of potions.
Yeah, no, hang on. I believe it was we talked about the potions in the haversack, and then Scott asked the question about what would happen.
No, it was definitely Jake. Definitely Jake that did this.
I wonder why Scott would ask it after finding out that he has let many potions in that bag.
Well, I knew last week because he messaged me, and he messaged you boys potions that he could make and whatnot, and I reminded him he could make more than just what was there. And he was like,
That's pretty pog.
No.
Right.
I mean,
So let's have
the
a
potions
think.
that were there were pretty amazing. So
What happened last week? We spoke to the second captured guy who had the crossbow.
Sorry, Neil. So Jake, fun fact: you can sew additional pouches onto your handy haversack that are non-magical. So if it's ever temporarily closed, you can still have a handful of potions.
Let this
on
be
your back.
known.
Okay, go ahead, Neil.
I'd like Norway as my witness. # Scott is the problem.
I was just
# Scott is, I don't mind # Scott is the common problem or # Scott is the common denominator. Like, take your pick. I feel like the latter one, it works well in all the streams, you know.
There's also an emote.
It's an emote.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it an emote?
What, Scott is the common denominator? Wow.
Scott's fault. There is a Scott. Oh, there actually is Scott.
Oh my god, there is. I didn't actually know that. Yeah,
that's
okay.
amazing.
That's amusing. Yeah, I didn't know that. I don't watch LI. All the best streams happen here. No, I didn't mean it. He's trying to finish a meal before he must DM. Look, Norway's on to you. He knows what you're doing.
Usually I don't get my food for another 2.5 hours, so.
Let's see. So we spoke to the second prisoner, who gave us some more information about a hobgoblin whose name begins with A.
Aaron.
There you go. My character has an intelligence of like, I don't know, 10.
Arad.
Arad, that's it.
It's
Yeah, no, 8 intelligence. So I remember that. We don't need to worry about the name. And then after that, the other guy who we performed surgery on, I say we, that's a royal we. Jake failed to save them. They died horribly, and we decided let's do an autopsy. However, the captain of the guard was like, "No way, that's not allowed. You need the papers, please." So we went to get the papers. And when we returned, someone else had given him the papers. So he would have failed his playthrough of Papers, Please. We decided, after various warnings, that we would give up, that was it. The body was likely gone, and any information we might gain wouldn't be worth the potential risk of following it up. And so we decided to go and have a drink, which we did, and we had a snooze, and then during the night, we had a visitor from someone who rolled an over 40 stealth check, I think, without invisibility. Yay! Meaning that would have been a 60 with invisibility, I think.
If I randomly disappear, thunder so loud my house shook just happened. So.
You sure it's not like just a giant kangaroo just jumping by us? Just like,
totally. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Where was I?
You guys had a bit of a drink.
And this chap warned us that questions had been asked about us by the syndicate. It was all a bit cloak and dagger, not really my type of thing, to be honest. And anyway, he said questions had been asked, and he'd answered some of them. So this mysterious benefactor said that he thought we were safe, and that we should speak again when we head west. And he mentioned a name, Crusella. And then he left into the night, leaving but a single red rose for Triss. There was no rose, but he should have, because he did break and enter. Would have been a nice gesture, thoughtful.
Oh yeah, the family thing.
And
the threat that's not a threat.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so we went and we saw Zephyr, the erstwhile master of war from the province of Juventia, who is no longer the master of war. He has left, and he's functioning as some high military official. I believe it's just the tier below those that manage the government. But he is working directly for the River King, which is something that he says is not an opportunity that comes around very often, to work directly for a prince. So he has taken this opportunity.
Yeah, I believe he's currently a field commander, is the position that he had to recently take. Whereas beforehand, he was a master of war. Oh, no, sorry. He's currently a high commander, but he's acting as a field commander because he doesn't have a space to be a high commander yet.
Yes, yes.
But as opposed to a master of war, who was. Yep, so that line that you just delivered, and then he kind of made it a bit more personal.
As far as we can tell, he seems loyal, and he gave us our next assignment, which would be heading off into Daelric, I believe, is the province.
Yep.
Yeah, Daelric.
Yep.
The general gist of this mission is there's a high amount of terrorist activity from Daelric. It is not a particularly stable province. In particular, it's centered around a town or a city on the edge of a lake.
It's on the delta.
Yes, it's on the shore.
Yeah.
That is on the river that travels into the main central lake in Daelric. Yeah. So it's in a very good position for trade. And this lake also has a river that further feeds up into the northeast of
popping up on stream real quick.
The land. And so our mission is to identify and deal with the terrorists there as best we can. Oh, there you go. It doesn't actually have a river heading north, but there you go.
It has its east. It has one going east.
East, yeah.
It's the right
but
here.
But that is the location of the city.
It's the
yeah.
bay heading north. It's beneath
the bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just saying that the lake has a river going northeast, but it's
I'm
actually
talking
just
about
one
the
going
position
east.
of the lake and its strategic value, depending on the rivers coming up there.
Yes. Gotcha.
And so we were given 2 weeks to prepare to purchase various items, and a significant quantity of gold, I might add. to purchase items with, and Zephyr made it very clear that failure was not an option, and dying in this case also came under failure. Little bit cruel, but hey ho, you know. And I believe that was where we left off, I think.
All right, so before we jump on,
skipping over the fact that we're still not promoted.
Before jumping on the boat, most of the things that you've done so far have been cloak and dagger. You gotta do something that maybe is a little bit more known. So the sort I'm looking for, the items that you wanted to purchase. So some of the items that you had asked about, I said that when you put in the request for them, it's like you're going to immediately get it. There's going to be kind of a delay, same as what happened with the armor and I think something else before.
Yep.
So we don't want to get into a shopping spree. You guys had already done that stuff beforehand. So really quickly, Tesh, we already know that the item that you had asked for, that's definitely not going to be immediately available.
I've sent away the letter with permission to extract the funds from our thing off to
Jen Mallis.
Jen Mallis, thank you.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Neil, I believe you're leaving behind an object in hopes that when you return, it's going to be prepared for you.
No, they've got 2 weeks. They can sort it out.
Oh yeah.
How long does it take to enchant an item? Come on.
The alternative is, can we have that done over there?
It's literally like a day, maybe 2 days.
Let's see. For
it's
that
not long.
item, it would take. You said +3.
Yep.
That's 9,000 gold pieces.
4,500.
No, 4,500 to craft it. 9,000 to purchase. This is what you'd be doing is purchasing. So that'd be 9 days.
I see. Okay, well then I can't do that if it's 9,000 gold because you've never given us that much gold, Scott.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at that part. So yeah, 9,000. The cost.
I see. So I see. So it would actually be a +2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And cash level only has to be a 4. It only has to be 3 times 2 is 6. So that's that's not easy to get your hands on, but significantly easier than a 9th level person. So I would say in 2 weeks you can get that done. A +2 would be feasible. Yeah. A +3
I did it,
would
guys.
be.
I stood my ground.
Yeah.
All right, and then Jake, yours is all easy stuff. You have no delay on any of your stuff. So
Yeah, because I wanted a ring, but you doubled the cost on me.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. So
cool.
so I see now.
So you'll get
the cost
the thing
is different to
when I saw
construction
it.
cost.
Yep. All right, perfect. So let's so you guys are getting onto your ship, and you're going to be heading out of where you are, which is as usual, McGlynn, heading out of McGlynn, and all the way round till Melisal Harbor. So this is not a short journey for your characters. Again, very unlikely. I say it every time that anything happens on travel. So why don't we just go ahead and have one person in chat roll a D100 to see if this goes without
go on,
any
Norway.
issues.
Give us a roll.
Do you want to assume low is bad?
Yes, Norway will roll high.
Okay.
That's
good
why
thing
we
it's
didn't
not
pick
Steve.
Steve.
Okay. Thank you, Steve, for getting that out of the way.
Oh boy.
At the risk of saying this in Twitch.tv, Norway, you missed the D.
Jesus.
Oh, there we go. Perfectly balanced, as all Norways should be.
All right, so like I said, it's very unlikely a 53 is perfectly fine. You can imagine you run into a little bit of weather that's not so kind, but overall the trip is going to be relatively safe. The important thing to note is that when you guys are passing by Rast, that's when you're sticking as close to the shore as possible. As you're heading out of McGlynn and making your way over there, one of the things they end up doing is they end up cutting across much of that bay that's there. So it's significantly deeper waters than usual because most of the time you guys were on a ship before, you were kind of like sticking along the coast. That leaves the coast and stays inside the greater bay area. Then it kind of rejoins the coast right around the tip of the peninsula. So you can see the bottom left hand corner of where the word Rast is. Kind of like rejoins in, and then once again is going to hug the coast along there. I know this is not your end's destination. You're going to be making your way all the way over to Melisal Harbor, which is in the bay in Delagus. But why don't you go ahead and roll me perception checks as your characters are making this this journey.
Ooh.
Perception, my old friend.
Ooh.
Oh, I thought it was a one.
Oh.
That's fun. All right. So cool. So with Viggo, one of the things that you happen to notice as you're making your way past. So Neil first. Sorry. One of the things you notice as you're passing by Rast, because just because of the way that the winds happen to be blowing, it happens to be catching some of the shall we say fragrance of Rast and bringing it southward to where it is you guys are traveling by. So one of the things that you notice is there is a strong smell, like a burning smell that you are not particularly familiar with. It's hard to describe because you are just not familiar with this kind of smell. Your character isn't, I should say. In real life, you'd be able to associate it with the smell of burning rubber. You know, like if somebody had peeled out in front of your house or was throwing a good old-fashioned tire fire, you know, because those are fun. But if it was the smell of burning rubber is kind of like the unique smell. Just so you guys can kind of imagine it. Anyway, so you catch this aroma, which if you've ever smelled burning rubber, it's horrible, and it tends to linger pretty heavily, probably because you're inhaling toxic fumes that are terrible for you. So you can absolutely kind of like get this like lingering, terrible burning sensation. Sorry, not sensation, smell that sticks with you. Going to Viggo, you obviously also pick up that smell. As to what that smell is, we can get to you in a second for that one, Viggo. So you happen to notice that smell as well, of course. But one of the things that you also happen to notice, Viggo, is off in the distance, you can see that there's little bits of smoke in different areas. Like large fires must be burning for whatever it is that they're doing to cause that smell. But I mean, this is not like right along the coast. It's not something that's easily picked up. It's something that you can even see at all points in time of the day. It's just occasionally, just the light happens to fall in such a way, or a shadow is cast by the clouds in front of the sun in such a way that you can see that the little smokestacks, or not smokestacks, sorry. I'll make sure I get this back to where things go. I go here. You there. Okay, cool. So the tunnels of smoke, kind of like columns of smoke climbing to the sky. You can kind of see like this burning happening over there. But the burning smoke that you see, it's not like it's just like a nasty black color of something just kind of like throwing off tons and tons of like darker smoke. It also has like you're fine, lighter smoke as well. Something that would suggest maybe a lot of water or whatnot being mixed into it, so it's not just like materials being burned. So that's one of the additional things that you happen to note. But Tesh, you also occasionally hear, I mean, it's hard to do because there's, you know, you're on a boat which creaks, the water splashes against it, the wind blows by, the sailors swear. They also occasionally sing, you know, and so on and so forth. So over the sound of a boat, which is not a quiet thing most of the time, you could hear the occasional, almost sounds like metal on metal sounds ringing from the shore. You really have to focus to hear it on the occasion, but you do. Going back to Jake for when he leans back into frame, if you want to go ahead and roll me a, it's almost like a chemistry check, but you can go ahead and roll me an alchemy check.
While he does that, sorry, I had to jump up because the sound of pouring water was coming from what I thought was in the house, but it's the neighbor's gutter broke.
Oh, that's always fun.
At least it's not mine.
Is it the gutter or like the drop down part? I forget what it's called.
I think the drop down part. It's just pouring out of that.
Yeah, we had that always sucks. We had one of those break at the other place, and just because that house is so old, it's very tall, and so I wanted to just get on a ladder, go up there and fix it. But the tallest ladder I had was 25 feet tall, which doesn't go to the roof. And I was just gonna lean it up against it, climb up there and fix it. And Brittany wouldn't let me, because she was like, if you fall and die. I was like, I'm not gonna fall and die. She's like, but if you do. And I was like, I'm not going to. So there's a whole big debate.
But
And she wouldn't let me. Well, no, I had to buy a new ladder to do it. She wouldn't let me get a ladder and do it. She made me hire somebody to go and rehang it because of how tall it is. She's like, because of the chance. I was like, well, if we buy the ladder, I could fix things like that many times for the cost of one.
I
ladder.
agree with Brett. Yeah. No, I agree with Brett.
But if you pay the service person, then you have to pay them each individual time, which quickly adds up to the cost of the ladder and then some.
but
Yeah,
also,
but what's the cost of you dying?
if something goes wrong,
But the
they die, not
likelihood
you.
of death is extremely slim.
Yeah, but it does happen.
Yeah, but I could also die from slipping on a banana peel that I left on my desk. Why is my foot on the desk? I don't know. But either way. So
I know why the foot's on the desk, because you didn't buy the ladder that you needed, and so you thought you'd stand on the desk.
Anyway, back to game.
So Jake, with your is it 21 total in alchemy?
Yeah.
All right.
I rolled a 5.
So you can definitely tell that the smell that's causing this, it's whatever it is that they're doing over there, burning over there. It's definitely a mix of chemicals. Like, you think that they're mixing something together to give that kind of like intense smell. You're not entirely sure what the mixture is to cause that aroma.
Paradel's making guns and gunpowder.
But there's definitely some burning rubber kind of smell happening over there. It's you wish you could put your thumb on it, but unfortunately it's just escaping you. I imagine the way that Viggo is, though, you would write down notes of well, I suppose the notes
Wonder
that
where
you
that
pick up in the air.
cat came from.
So, anyways, that is what you're able to do. Are you trying to tell me that you think that they found saltpeter? They've discovered saltpeter?
Yep.
So that's what you guys pick up from Rast. A combination of the smell, not quite putting your thumb on what that smell is, and the occasional sound that, of what sounds like metal cracking on metal, but ringing through the distance from afar. You know what I mean? As well as, of course, the burning.
Be the right place to do it. Very isolated.
That's where all technological developments happen, or magical developments happen in Rast.
Oh,
It's about as isolated as you can be. Nobody's traveling through the land to get to the barren lands to get there. And it's important to note that just because it's your first time seeing it, when you travel by Rast as well, one of the things that you notice is much like the cliff sides that you can see off of like Ireland and whatnot. There aren't very many places to safely port a boat.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it is very, very dangerous throughout most of Rast to port a boat. And you can imagine the few areas where a ship could actually pull in, they definitely have like a watchtower and guard and so on and so forth to be able to see what's going on. Sure, there might be areas where a significantly smaller boat would be able to, at least temporarily, pull up next to. But you can imagine if it stayed there for too long, a couple of days, whatever, what have you, just the nature of the tides and how like kind of like rocky it is over there, that thing would get torn apart. But who really wants to take a small boat that close to rocks like that? I mean, that thing could easily be tossed about and you die. You know what I mean? So either way, that's one of the things that you do note. Cool.
Yeah, but what are the chances, Scott?
Of?
Getting tossed about, dying in the boat? Come on.
I mean, do you want to find out?
Is this one of those scenarios where maybe you should have bought a bigger boat?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
Or, better yet, paid a captain who had a boat to take you up the sea to fix your gutter.
So,
There we go. There he gets it.
So you continue making your way around Rast, where because it's not a short trip, it's going to be a solid like 3 days time, I believe, that you just can't get that burning smell out of your nose, and it's genuinely miserable to everybody except for the few crewmen that have COVID. So they're lucky; they don't have to smell a thing. So You make your way around the peninsula and finally over and into Delagus. Now, here's another important thing to note when you're going into Delagus, because I don't think this was mentioned to you guys beforehand when you were going in. As you're actually making your way into the bay over there, there is a what's the word I'm looking for here? When a bunch of boats stop other boats from passing through. Blockade!
Oh, blockade, yeah.
Blockade! All right, there you go. Sorry. I definitely boomer brain for a second there. So, there's a blockade that happens to be in the mouth of the bay over there. So as you guys are even bringing your way in, one of the things that's noticed is that the blockade happens to have just a bunch of war vessels lined up in the mouth of it, just to make sure that no other vessels that aren't authorized can get through. And then in the
this is a good time to quickly organize this, because we very quickly went off to the trip. Papers. Are we going on this boat as us, or are we going on this boat as Bandit, Magpie,
Bluey?
Bluey, that's all right. Yeah. Are we going on with those papers, or are we going on with because we're on a merchant vessel, not a military one?
I mean, that's up to you guys. That you were given.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
I believe what you guys chose to do was to go undercover to arrive.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure this was organized before we end up deciding what we have to do with the blockade, or finding out what's happening with the blockade. So yeah, if we're going with that, then I'll have the our papers in the smuggler's boot.
Okay. And of course, whoever it is that's smuggling you happens to know whatever it is that you guys are. They happen to know the truth.
Yeah, the
right?
Bandit, Bluey, and Magpie.
Yeah. So either way, one of the things that you notice
certainly look like we're bodyguards of an alchemist now. We're both like just covered in potions.
I mean, you certainly have a lot of those on him. I can imagine if there was a storm that
we even have like
potions would break.
Oh, I was gonna say we have like our belts and quick belts full of potions as well. So,
yep.
So, are you okay with that, Jake? Going undercover as what? Since we already have the papers that look official, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
to use
I
those.
think he told us more or less to he gave us that choice, but it was more like Scott had just said we were gonna go as merchants or whatever till we got there, and then
More or less,
just
as
wanted
soon
to
as you
make sure
step
that
on
was
the
sorted.
dock, you're like, surprise! I'm military.
Yeah.
So,
okay, cool.
Rip off your tearaway pants, and you got like a. It's like you're wearing these British tearaway pants, but then you walk in and you have like an American flag Speedo underneath. Sorry.
We all have those sleeves of many garments and just wear military gear.
No, Tesh, you have an American flag Speedo and you're gonna like it. Got a big old bald ego, you know where. I meant to say eagle, but I misspoke and said ego. So that was kind of funny. Both apply. So, all right. So anyways, you guys are making your way to so as you're approaching, one of the things that you'll also notice is because you're the fairly perceptive members of you and whatnot, and you can also just hear the crew talking about it, is in front of the blockade, there are a couple of vessels that happen to be sailing about, and you can imagine a very specific pattern. I know usually that like Coast Guard tends to use this strange, almost like zigzag pattern for doing searches to make sure that they can kind of catch things. So that's in front of the blockade. And at the back half of the blockade, there's an additional ship that happens to be running back and forth the length of the bay area. So if any information needs to be traveled back and forth between the different boats, you can imagine this is who does it, as well as kind of filling in any gaps if need be. Once you actually get past the blockade and into the bay area itself, so things start to change drastically. It gets more to, okay, less of the Paradel military vessels that you see over there, significantly more by way of like fishing vessels, which are significantly more local, just regular trade vessels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No boats literally stop to check your pay. Nobody is like, pull over! Let me see your papers. Like nothing like that happens as you're in your boat. You just get through the blockade and head over there. You can imagine that maybe the flag that you flew or what have you is what got you through. Anyways, just getting into the bay does not get you immediately where you need to. It's another, again, couple day travel just to get to Melisal Harbor itself because this bay is not small. Once you get finally pulling up to Melisal Harbor, it is not a small port city. This place is, I guess you would use the word metropolis. I mean, there are tens of thousands of people that happen to live here. It is very, very populated. Or if there are not tens of thousands of people that live here, there are at the very least tens of thousands of people that are here. It is definitely the capital of or at least the primary port city along this area in this bay. So the harbor that they have can take many different ships going up and down it. The city itself is very, very wide. You can imagine there's a degree of depth to it as well, but it is a very, very, very wide city. So tons of docking space along its length. You can see that there are many dozens of ships that happen to already be inside here, not small ones either, and they don't even fill up half the spaces that could be here. There are a couple of military vessels that are kind of anchored further out with their what do you call those landing craft, longboats or the other name for it, that would bring those kind of people to and from the military craft that are also off the harbor. So it is important to note from military perspective, those boats being off the harbor are going to be there for multiple reasons. One, resupplying and whatnot, you can imagine, but also two, oh, Jesus Christ.
There it is. If no one else did it, I was going to do it.
Not just for resupplying, but also for the sake of showing a military presence in the area because of the significance of what the city is. It's also important to note that when you guys step onto the dock, almost immediately, anybody who officially works for the dock itself, which is say the dockmaster, dockhand, so on and so forth, anybody that works for the Paradel, they're speaking Perrin, right? Perrin is the common tongue of Aeroth. Everybody speaks Perrin. They're speaking Perrin. It's important to note more than half the city refuses to speak Perrin. They speak Dalish.
Fuck.
I was going to say, which of your characters speak Dalish?
So I need to check.
I do.
This is where I got to bring up my Psycrystal stuff because I think it requires a shared language, unfortunately. But let me look.
Oy vey.
Telepathic speech. No, okay. So, I mean, this is not a good way for us to communicate with other people, but any creature that has a language. Okay. So, if worse comes to worse, Visual can speak to someone. Virgil. God damn it.
I can speak Dalish.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
He was trained in Dalish. He had a proper education. I think he speaks like 73 languages.
Right, C3PO.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's 9 at the moment.
It's what is it?
Jesus.
Oh, I didn't realize this is still up over here. My name is Viggo. Dalish Perrin Relations. Anyways, so that is you guys are approaching the docks. You come up onto the docks, and very quickly that happens. V1990 or no V1990.
I like it.
Yep. All right, cool. Yeah. So you guys land on the docks. Almost immediately after you hit the docks, the kind of dockmaster comes over, and they don't really have anything to say to you because you just happen to be people that are transporting. The one things that are checked is you can see that before you're welcome to kind of like go to the greater beyond, the dockmaster is informed that you guys happen to be passengers. They're on the vessel itself, so they just need to see your passenger paperwork to make sure that everything's in order. You aren't stowaways or whatnot. I imagine your papers are, of course, all in order because they were done by the High Commander. So the High Commander, so that you hand over your paperwork. They check everything over. It seems to be in order. But one of the things he does say, as he looks it over, he goes, "Of Dween." He looks up and says, "Are we on a holiday?"
We didn't have to be cloak and dagger here, did we?
No, this is a paramilitary official.
Yeah. But we were specifically told, like, we're
You
not.
do not have to be.
cloak and dagger, right?
Yep.
Yeah. No, we're on business of the winner.
You say the business of the Dween Hair, and they nod, appreciative, and hand you back your paperwork, and he says, "Then you go on for your business for the Dween Hair." You guys can roll a sense motive check.
All right. Oh, that's a little better.
I would say it was Viggo that picks it up then. Viggo, you realize that the appreciation there wasn't that you were on official business. It was the fact that you referred to them as the Dween Hair and not as the River King.
No.
Remember, people hate that phrase. It's annoying.
Okay. Yeah.
It kind of makes me want to use it in, like, the king part in our group name even more so if it's annoying people.
I mean, you could.
Yeah,
Sure.
Kingfishers.
I really do think I like that, but we haven't officially decided yet, but that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. But yeah, again, the idea is like, I'm trying to think of a decent example. The best one I could think of is in the, what's that stupid movie my wife watches too often? In Hocus Pocus, the one character, where I can't remember the character's name, but he's like, he calls him like Nigel or whatever. And he's like, "No, my name's now Ice." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, this is Ice." And he turns around and he like points at the word ice shaved into the back of his head. He's like, "Ugh." And it's just like, that's how most people view the Dween Hair. Being like, "No, my name's a River King. You're gonna call me the River King, King of Rivers." And like, okay, River King. So anyways, you guys hand over your paperwork. They check it. They give it back, and it allows you to kind of like be freed up to go and check out the city. So, one of the things that you're going to notice about this this city is that the over in the dock area itself, this is by far an old dock city, old port city. This is an ancient port city, if you will. Like it has been around since longer than the Parallel Empire has, right? Like this is a very, very old place. So that being said, you can imagine the docks. They have been created, recreated, fixed, styles changed, so on and so forth over the years. The way that they've cut the logs to set out the different docks themselves, the different way that they've laid stone, laid brick, et cetera, over the time to make the docks. It has changed over the hundreds of years that this place has been here. That also means that the buildings themselves have changed in styles over the hundreds of years that it's been here. This is a very old city. Walking through the place, it's really hard to kind of get, heads from tails as to what is where and so on and so forth. I mean, there are districts that happen to exist here, but they're kind of looser than they would be certainly in a parallel made city. But they're significantly looser here. That's one of the first things that kind of catches you as different, is just how almost kind of bejumbled this whole metropolis happens to be. Everything is everywhere. You see grand homes right next to small little dinky shops and tenements and whatnot. Like there seems to be no rhyme or reason. The other thing that kind of throws you guys off is Have any of your characters ever seen lizard folk before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Remember one of the
yeah, I met an Arcane Congress Magister or whatever, not Magister, that's it. But I met one who had been turned into a lizard folk.
Correct.
I've never met an actual lizard folk, but
Correct.
yes, I've seen one and stared at it.
And I think Tesh met 0, right? Aside from
What?
seeing that one.
Oh yeah, I was just saying Tristan had seen that one, and then we may have seen them from a distance, but not quite up close.
And Jake certainly would have seen, you know, a couple here and there because of how wide his education and travels have been in his youth. But again, very rare. At least maybe 10% of the population of this metropolis is lizard folk, like which is like there are just bipedal alligators walking around everywhere. Holy shit! You know, it is certainly a change in what you had seen before, because the Dale Lands have a very large amount of its population happens to be lizard folk. Granted, significantly more so in the north and western portions of Delegas, but either way, nonetheless, it is there a significant portion of the population of Delegas are lizard folk. So one of the first things you'll notice getting off the boats and kind of like walking around is just the number of lizard folk that live here. Now, lizard folk are people, right? So they have the same jobs as you would see anywhere else. So when you first come across, again, literal alligators that are bipedal walking around and it's talking and whatnot, it's a little strange just seeing dock hands that are alligators, and you walk into a tavern, you order a beer, and an alligator is serving it to you, and so on and so forth. What's up, V-Sword Dancer? So it is a kind of a jarring experience for you. But yeah, other than that, it is a pretty wide population of people that happen to be here. And as for other races that maybe your characters don't generally encounter, maybe you see them, maybe you don't. I mean, the place is pretty packed. You're not just standing there, people staring, right? So as soon as you kind of like hit dock and you start kind of walking around, what is it you want to do to immediately get your bearings? Do you want to head over to a barracks? Do you want to go and grab a tavern to talk? Or do you want to immediately set up like, okay, we need an inn, need a base of operations, maybe we should rent an apartment. What's the one Gatorade, please, Jesus.
Oh, that was something I forgot to ask before we left, but this would have been part of like the shopping stuff. Can I pull what like I have 60 gold left of the allocated amount? Can I pull that out as like currency to have on me for while we're over here?
What your pockets are empty?
Yes. Mine are at least.
So usually it's only set for the commissary, and I believe I said beforehand you can pull it, but it comes at a like almost like a tax rate, almost like pulling from your 401k or whatever, right? Like there's like a penalty for doing so.
Yeah, okay. It was 60 gold, so
yeah, 60 gold is nothing. Go ahead, take it. I don't remember what that rate was. I have to either remember or find where I wrote it before. So
okay. I'll just take note that it may not be 60.
No problem. So cost of living, just give me 1 second. 1 second. Is it minor realistic? At the start of every game month, a PC must pay an amount of gold equal to the lifestyle bracket he wishes to live. If he can't afford that desired bracket, he drops down to normal 1. So, if you want to do cost of living for you guys to have an apartment or small house or something like that, so you can imagine an apartment for you guys to rent as opposed to staying inside of an inn, which charges by the day. You can certainly get yourselves an apartment or the like for you to have access to. Renting the apartment for a month would cost you 100 gold pieces, give or take, between the group of you. That would give you guys your own like base of operations for the entire month. And more or less things like you could assume part of that cost of living covers the cost of you having food, drink,
Yeah.
Very, very basic supplies, things that cost like a gold piece or less you can get your hands on, as well as the occasional alcoholic beverage, though certainly not indulging. That would require you to spend more gold.
What do you guys think? Probably be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, doesn't it? If we're going to be here for some time, to have an apartment rather than either living in a barracks or in an inn.
Inn could be interesting because you get a lot of information that goes in and out of an inn, but also a lot more expensive. So.
Yeah.
We could still frequent inns if needs be.
Yeah.
My camera's
All right, so 100 gold.
Obnoxious.
Yeah, 100 gold total. So you guys.
All right,
can
I'll
split
just
on
take
shit.
that off my sheet. All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Because if we get split up and you need gold for any reason, at least you've got it on you.
Aren't you guys happy you
Yeah.
became friends with Bruce Wayne?
Of course.
The amount of money he's already saved us on potions is insane.
That's true. I was like, oh yeah, I'll get one of those, get one of those, get one of those. Oh, this has only come to like 500 gold. Wow.
Yeah.
So
I now have 1, 2, 3, 4.
just trying to find an apartment of decent quality and so on and so forth. This is actually going to be a check for you guys, because when was the last time any of you ever went apartment searching ever?
Can we search for a higher end one?
That's why it's going to be a check. So you can definitely change your cost of living. To be clear, average cost of living is just an okay apartment. This isn't like, common rooms or anything like that. This is like a decent place, right? But if you wanted to go for wealthy cost of living, which is like a suite or a sizable home or whatever it is, that jacks it up by 10 times the cost. And then if you wanted like a mansion or castle, it's even more so, but obviously you guys can't afford that. So why don't you go ahead and, for whoever's going to go around doing the apartment searching, so that none of you guys are really accustomed with doing, somebody has to roll me gather information to find out where to get a place.
That's diplomacy, right?
Yes, sir.
That ain't me.
What if I suggested an alternative?
Go ahead.
It's probably going to be obsolete in the face of this.
So, Viggo rolling diplomacy was an important reason. Was an important thing. I'll get to why in a minute. What was your alternative, Neil?
I was actually going to suggest profession soldier, because this is technically in Paradel lands.
Yep.
You would find a Perrin landlord who would be more likely to lease their property to Perrin soldiers.
It's definitely a possibility. It would carry a connotation to it to the neighbors.
It would.
But
Yeah.
absolutely, of course.
If
we
the
could
boss
also
has
just
got it,
use
then
the diplomacy. You also, if you want, you could luck that to see if you can get to 30.
do we really want to luck our living situation?
That's the thing. Do we want to? It could. Yeah, it's up to you, honestly.
Oh yeah, Tristan and
Just leave it as 26.
Okay, cool.
Tristan and Viggo got Winifred's wisdoms.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, Steve. They did. Back to you guys. Sorry. So what I was saying before was so the reason why it mattered that it was Viggo is because Viggo is actually able to go around and speak to them in Daelish. So if they happen to be Daelish landlords and whatnot, that is an important note. It's like if I were to, go walking into, I don't know, England. Sure, I could speak their language, but I mean, I'm going to choose not to because their language is trash, and I'm going to speak American. And I'm going to have a much harder time as people are like, fucking Americans, as I'm going around and trying to find an apartment. You know what I mean? They'll be like, a what? I'm going to be like, an apartment. A what? An apartment. Sorry, mate. I'd be like, a flat. I'm trying to find a flat, like your fucking face when I'm through with you. Oh, right, flat. Gotcha. Or however you pronounce it. Jesus Christ. Anyways, so,
I mean, it makes quite a lot of sense, really, doesn't it?
I mean, that I would call it a flat. So I mean, it's third dimensional. So I'm not so sure what's so flat about.
One
Is it?
floor.
Is the rate flat? Fuck off. Like, oh, okay. So.
One floor makes it flat.
But what if it's an apartment that has multiple floors, like a townhouse?
You get those in America.
You're telling me that you have 0 apartments with multiple floors?
No, you do get those. But they are far, far rarer than you would think.
I'm sure.
Now, there are specific historical forms of like townhouse with multiple floors that are very common in Scotland. I can't remember the proper name for them, though.
I mean, townhomes.
But there you go. Look it up.
Yeah, townhomes we have here, or brownstones. I'm pretty sure you guys have brownstones in England. Pretty sure brownstones is
I've never heard of that. I don't
really,
know what that
brownstones?
is. I mean, we may have it, but I've never heard of it.
Oh.
Might be a boomer thing.
I mean, it certainly is old. They're fucking hundreds of years old in Boston. So
That would explain why you have it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because I live in an old place, so.
Because your progress stopped. How many years ago did you get independence?
A very long time ago, and you're welcome for all the technological developments since then. Listen, America did everything we could by accepting a whole bunch of defecting Nazis to make sure that we were technologically advanced from the 40s onward, okay? Did a great job of that. And it's totally not backfiring on us politically nowadays. So let's keep going. All right, let's keep going. What were we just talking about?
Flats and apartments, everybody.
Yeah. My apologies. Thank you. So, you guys are going to find yourselves a place. With a 26 diplomacy check, you're actually able to get yourself a comfortable little spot. The important thing to note about this apartment is that, first of all, it's decent. It's actually a decent location. It's not too far from the shops, a couple of taverns, so on and so forth. Because the neighborhoods are so mixed, even the nice, like the wealthy neighborhoods, aren't exclusive, right? There's certainly many other types of living. Like you can imagine there's going to be some old mansion that at some point in time was broken down into a ton of different apartments and whatnot at one point in time, or like remodeled over the years to become this way as the family kind of like made decisions and whatnot, which again is real life, something that happens around here all the time. So, again, everything is very, very mixed here. But you do happen to be one of the parts of town that you don't look like you're going to get stabbed in the middle of the night if you walk down the street. Maybe in an alleyway, but not if you walk down the street, right? So, which is nice to know. It's also important to note that your immediate neighbor, so the home that you're staying in, you have one neighbor, so it's a 3-level place. You have a neighbor on the first floor. That happens to be the owner of the property. The neighbor on the second floor happens to be a elderly lady. She's actually an old Perrin lady that has lived here since long before, since around when Peridel first swooped in to take advantage of the horde that came through here like 100 years ago. So she was from here from a long ass time ago. Very likely her parents were the ones that were amongst the military that kind of came through because of how old she is. She lives immediately beneath you, which means that her hearing probably isn't that good, which is nice, despite being a parrot and having a +2 perception. And that gives you guys like a 3rd floor apartment, which gives you a little bit more of a view of what happens around you in the city, though certainly there are other buildings around of equal height. And a little bit of separation for your neighbors. This is a really good situation for what you guys need, though I would say that Tristan probably complains walking up and down the multiple flights of stairs in a full plate of armor. So
actually, full plate of armor, like full harness, isn't that bad because it's rigged across your entire body. It's actually better than chainmail.
Sure.
Because the weight is spread out evenly.
Oh. So,
I like the idea.
But when
go
you
to
say 3rd floor, you actually mean 2nd floor, right?
Oh God.
I like the idea to get to the staircase. Everyone starts walking up the staircases. Galen just starts floating up. Fuck the stairs.
I like the idea he floats almost like if you would, if all of a sudden he was just inserted into like a vat of water And he said like bubbling to the top. Like it's not like a. It's
No,
like
I need perfect flight for that.
No, oh, why? What do you have?
I don't have perfect flight. I have.
Does he fly now? Why is he flying?
I fly now.
That doesn't seem appropriate.
I'm
Get,
level
get back
5.
down here and walk, young man.
I have swift action ability to fly.
You walk like the gods intended.
Okay, for medium, it's good maneuverability. I can spend another 2 points to make it perfect, but it's good maneuverability by default.
Yeah, so there you go. Good maneuverability. That's why it almost like you're like rising up in water, as opposed to Superman perfect elevation.
Yeah,
so on and so
not
forth.
like vision.
Yeah. Also, you can't hover with that, so that does mean that you always
No,
need to move.
you have to make a flight check to hover, right?
Oh, that's right. I'm confused with 3.5 and Pathfinder. Yeah, you have to make a skill check to be able to pull off. 3.5 didn't have a fly skill. It was just you had a maneuverability, and that was that. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I definitely have a flight skill. I put points in it. So.
Yeah. So you know kind of like constantly have to move to be able to go up there or whatever. You have to make a skill check, but when you do rise up this way, that is actually a pretty big show.
I was joking. I wouldn't actually do that. No, that was 100% a joke.
he just there across the arms floating up, and the old lady's just like coming out a door and just goes.
He's like reading a book as he floats up.
She's like, "Strange lad, he."
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I'd walk normally.
Awesome. So
he flies like a rock. Yeah, that works.
Like the Rock, Dwayne, like Dwayne?
No, like a rock.
Oh, I hate Dwayne. All right, cool. I still want to see the Rock in a superhero movie. I'm surprised we haven't seen that yet. So it's got to be coming up soon. We have to have something, even like a cameo.
Jumanji was borderline.
I know, right? Listen, Fast and Furious is borderline. Okay, like
I disagree. Jumanji was fantastic.
No. I mean like borderline superhero, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it was borderline. It's not borderline. He was a superhero in that. He punched it into like 500 meters in the air.
He can be the Thing. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. That's funny. Because the Thing is made out of, rock. All right, moving on. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so the continuing. You guys are more or less, you find this apartment. You're able to get yourselves settled in there. One of the things about this apartment is that there's going to be one bedroom that has a single bed in it and one bedroom that has a double bed in it. Just because like the way the place happens to be set up and arranged. It does have its own like little kitchen area, which is nice. Of course, you have to throw wood into a fire to get the proper stove functioning, or coal if you can get your hands on it. And to get the thing going. So you got to throw a log on to get your kettle in the morning, boys. Sorry. No percolators that you can just plug into the wall. And that pretty much covers it. A small living space. The footprint of it is very small, but the important thing is that it's your own and that there are locks on it that... can any of you guys use disable device? Did we trained in that skill?
I am.
Okay. Jake, after an investigation of the quality of the locks, these are simple locks. DC 10 to pick.
Oh,
I'm not trained in it, but I'm... I guess I can't do it if I'm not trained, can I?
Well, I don't know. Can you go walking into an apartment that you rent and just be like, so I'm just going to restructure this place. Hope you don't mind.
Well, you say the guy, these locks are really shoddy. If I buy them, can we install them?
He says, out of your pocket.
Yep.
He looks at you and says, but you're only going to be here for the month, or you intend to stay longer?
Guess I'll know at the end of the month.
Thinks for a moment. It's unusual, but yes. I get the keys, yes?
Yes.
Including a copy of the master key when they're installed.
Yes, don't lose it.
He shakes his head. Of course not. Okay. He says.
I mean, he already has a master key of the simple lock now, so
Yeah. So he says. So what was I gonna say? He says. Gives you kind of like a location where you can go and get your hands on a locksmith. I don't want to spend too much more time on this than we already have. So it's Pathfinder locks. Find the cost plus the installation of a lock. Locks. Here we go. So a good lock. So usually the locks area is going to be padlocks as opposed to one being installed on a door. So if you're going to install lock into a door, you can imagine, because you have to. You've seen like old doors, how the lock is more or less built into the door itself. It's not just like remove 2 screws to take out. It's actually a legitimate, difficult thing to do. Yeah, it's actually
that one. It's there. It's built into the door.
It's a legitimate, difficult thing to switch out, as opposed to, oh look, I bought me a new master lock. You know, which the lockpicking lawyer loves master locks. So double the cost of what it's.
And it falls apart. I don't know how he does it.
He actually did a really good. He was a guest speaker at a college, not too long ago, and it was a really good. I listened to the whole hour-long thing. It was really good. He's a funny guy. Though some of his jokes are borderline, like when you get him in the long form and not like his preset, like scripted bit, some of his jokes are like, they're funny, but they're misogynistic, but like consistently so. So I'm like, I wonder if he's just like a touch and go of that kind of sense of humor, or if there's like something deeper there. You know what I mean? It's just because, and it's funny coming from me because I make jokes about everything all the time. So that's why I'm like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and just assume he's a good person, you know? But anyways, so the, whatever lock price it says there, if you don't have it open, it's here. I'll pop it into Twitch chat just for simplicity. But double the cost it says for the lock is how much it'll cost to purchase it and have it installed. Okay? Whatever you guys want to settle on. You're good. Unseen servants. Oh, yeah. Unseen servants would be amazing. I was just
walking down the street.
Make a joke, but decided not to. All right, let's keep going.
Oh, no.
Right, lockpick lawyer. Let's move on.
All right, cool. So yeah, you get this situated. Whatever you end up spending, they get it done for you. You know, by the end of not the next day, but the following day, right? So they show up within the next 2 days and get this taken care of for you. Cool, cool. Now you guys you have an apartment. You have yourself situated. I imagine you throw your bags down, and I imagine you get yourself situated, because you're not going to carry everything you own every time you leave this apartment consistently. You also check the window locks. They're fine. You're the third floor. Neil, third floor, because ground level is called first floor.
Yeah, but third floor, yeah. We're 4 levels up.
You're 3 levels up, which is the third floor, floor 3.
I got the
It's
good
not a
lock,
flat,
so it's
which
a
is
DC
one
30,
floor.
all right, Scott?
I mean, it is flat.
What was that, Jake?
I purchased the good locks.
Oh, so that's 160 gold it costs you, and a good
Yes.
lock is DC 30. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Just so you know.
That is not an easy lock to pick. That is genuinely difficult. And do you have a way of enhancing that? Do you have the ability to cast Magic Lock? No?
No.
Okay. I thought that would have been cool if you could just magically add another 5 or 10 or whatever it does to it. All right, continuing. So you guys get yourself situated here. I want to throw it to you because I've just been talking a whole bunch. Throw it to you guys. You finally made your way here. You've got your space to stay. You've got 30 days completely paid for now. You don't have to worry about meals or drinks or so on and so forth unless you're getting extravagant for some reason. Everything's situated. You even have a really good lock, like a DC 30. If you think about it, even if you had like a min-maxed first level rogue, which is the most likely rogue you're going to come across, it's going to be level 1 or 2. You have to imagine a first level rogue has 1 point plus 3 in as a class skill. Then let's assume that they have, let's go crazy and say they have a +3 dexterity, which is pretty insane. So that gets you to a +3 dexterity. They have masterworked tools that gets you to a +9. It would be impossible even taking a 20 to do it. You have to have at least a second level rogue with all of those very fortunate situations put before them. The likelihood of having a 16 dexterity is going to be slimmer. Master of tools is going to be slimmer, etc., etc. Right? Cool. Neil, you're about to say something.
That's a good question. What was I about to say?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Does this flat have on-road stabling, off-road stabling, a brick stable? For insurance purposes, I just need to let them know.
The stable will be covered by your the average cost that you guys paid, the 100 gold, but that will not be here. That would be elsewhere.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that probably Carrick is probably a good, quarter mile or so from where you are. I don't know how many kilometers that is. Quarter mile or so from where you are.
Fine, we use miles as well, Scott.
Oh yeah, I always forget that. You guys.
Yeah, I know.
It throws me off.
We don't.
Yeah.
We're like, welcome to metric and imperial, but metric and some imperial.
At least you have the stones to do both. So, anyways, you yeah. So you're all set. I'll throw it to you guys to start coming up with what plan you want to use, where you want to go next, how you want to approach this. Thus far, you've flown under the radar, you believe.
We should probably go report in, I think.
Do we need to report? I suppose we do.
At least officially, and then we can start doing stuff just so we're here and known to be here.
Yeah, we should probably do that and then check out the city. We'll kind of learn where we are.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So you want to just kind of walk around town and get familiar with it?
Yep, and we're gonna report in as well.
Okay, sure. So I can imagine that your day one of being here, you took the most of the day walking around trying to find an apartment that you can get your hands on. It's one of those things where you look around, whether if you see a note or ask a question or whatever it is that people are like, oh, I know a guy that's looking for it. You probably checked out like a solid 11, 12 apartments, and finally this one was just like, we'll take it for a month. How much? Here's the gold. and it's not even weird to them because let's be honest, you guys are dressed in expensive shit. Like, you're no commoners. You've got a whole bunch of potion vials dangling.
I was going to say the potions alone, yeah.
You've got weapons that are of incredible value. You've got expensive armor and clothing and et cetera, et cetera. You get a fine breed of horse that you're literally walking around with at some points.
Whoa, don't forget, we've all got premium sandals.
That's true.
Yes.
Those are for apartment use only, okay?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like we come in and we take off our boots and slip into
and
the
put
sandals.
on the premium sandals.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Tristan in full plate armor and sandals.
With just sandals, yeah.
It's like some of the magic items I was looking at were like something slippers, and I'm like, does that mean you're just wearing slippers into combat?
they do that because they're trying to give you the idea of like a monk walking around in like thong sandals.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I prefer my monks just in thongs, so
the Australian in me went, yeah, that makes sense, and then I immediately went, wait, you're American. Hang on.
Yeah, but I live close to the Canadian border. There's lots and lots of Speedos. So
no, that's not.
I didn't understand that at first. You're like, oh yeah, no, I live to the Canadian border, and my brain was like, Canadians like monks in thongs?
Oh
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So
that's why I was like, hang on, we mean different things here.
Well, thong sandals are.
Oh, I see what you mean now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking thongs, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, exactly. So for Australia, thongs are flip-flops.
Yeah. So
for me, it's underwear.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I did the double entendre because here it's thong sandals. So you just use the two words.
Yeah.
Or flip-flops. Or thong.
I had the double take of the Australian me was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then the me that's been dealing with Americans for a couple of years went, hang on.
Was that Cisco song confusing for you guys? where he's like, thong, the thong, thong, thong. I like the way you move that thing.
I don't know the song.
You don't know that song? Oh my God.
No.
You know who Cisco is?
Oh,
Is this
does
an
that mean
age
Scott?
I don't
thing?
know.
Scott.
I don't
Is this an
know
age
names
thing?
of any artists.
Look,
Yeah,
I know
that's
the
the worst
song.
with
I
names.
haven't heard it a whole bunch, but look, I know the song.
Oh, oh God.
I can't believe that thong means 3 different things in our 3 countries. God, that's obnoxious, isn't it?
It is, and I'm sorry, but this thumbnail is amazing. I hope it pops up as this thumbnail. I'm gonna go to our spoilers
Oh
chat.
god. I still remember the first time I mentioned on
Yes,
stream
it's that
that,
thumbnail.
like I wore thongs to the beach. Everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, I don't understand. Why is everyone like, why is there a reaction to this?
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. All right, sorry. Oh, it's so funny. You guys don't know who Cisco is too. I think that's an age thing though, because he was like a one-hit wonder. He had like literally 2 songs that hit any charts. This being the one that like blew up for a while.
Well, I was super behind with radio and music in general. I found a band called Linkin Park. Was like, that's good enough for now.
Well, but again, he is he was popular a while ago. You know what I mean? Like Thong Song was recorded in 1999 and it was released in February 15th of 2000.
Yeah, I was 8.
I just keep reading what Norway said in chat. It's just flopping around, and like with the context of thongs in what they mean, I'm just like confused blinkage.
You're not confused. You're just disturbed. All right. So, anyways, let's continue. I'm sorry. You guys are situated. I will let you. So you go walking around town, and again, it's as I described beforehand. Because you've already walked around a considerable amount, just trying to find this place, the better part of the day, just to do so, and to get your stuff up in here. You more or less just dropped your bags and were like, right then, let's head out. We'll deal with this later on. When you guys go heading back out again, the part of the city that you're in, it's not like the nicest part. It's also not a terrible part. It's somewhere in the middle there, pretty close to markets and whatnot. So it's rather convenient for getting most basic supplies for you, which is kind of all rolled into the cost of living, described 100 times. As for the proximity to the garrison, I imagine you guys wanted to be relatively close to the garrison, right?
What do you guys think?
Do we care that much?
Yeah.
We kind of get placed where we get placed, right? Will we start our search near the garrison?
What I would say is, why don't we have the next 3d6 in chat total up to how many minutes walk away the garrison is from you guys, just for being able to get to and from it.
Yeah,
relatively
that's
easily.
that's good. It's not too long, but that's a full.
Good start.
But
Vikings,
I
like,
mean,
get
it's
me,
less than 20 minutes total. So even if
Vikings,
we
like,
get
get me away
6,
from
6,
there.
6, so.
I don't want to be near there. No thanks. All right, cool.
10?
At least 10 minutes.
10-minute
which is
walk's
nice.
not that bad.
Boom. 16.
Oh. 16. That's still not bad.
So I walk about a 15-minute mile. So for me, that's about a mile away. If you're walking in a straight line, yeah, it's not so bad. So it's probably just under a mile, which isn't so bad. So you guys make your way to over to where the garrison is. It's only about 15 minutes from where you stay. If what's his name is wearing his armor, slower because he walks slow. Which, speaking of, Neil, you wouldn't be walking around in full plate armor while inside the metropolis, would you? You have leathers or whatever to wear in the.
I have padded, yeah. I'll wait until we're settled in.
Okay, so just because you had it walking up and down many flights of stairs throughout the whole searching for an apartment experience, you're like, I've already worn it on this long. Why don't I just leave them on?
It's more effort to take it off at this point.
Actually,
Go back to Norway's comment. Unseen servant, baby.
oh,
Like legitimately, play armor. Like once it's on, it's not that much hassle.
So what you guys go walking up to the garrison itself. So as you go walking up to the garrison, you can see that the place, this garrison here, it's not just like a single building. It's almost like a little complex that they have. So the complex comes in a design of like a C shape. I believe certain parts of almost looks kind of like a little villa, right? So it's like a C-shaped complex where the front corner and both back corners, one of the front corners of both back corners have almost like a tower rising from it, just an additional level. So the complex itself is only one level with like high roofs or whatever, but certainly you can stand on the roof if you wanted to. It's a 2-level tower on 3 of the corners, and you can see there's people posted to be able to kind of like watch outwards, so on and so forth. Also, just outside the complex in the courtyard area, because like I said, it's C-shaped. Inside the courtyard area, you can see that there are some soldiers there actively doing drills and training. You can also see jogging around the complex itself. There are soldiers that are actively doing drills and jogging around. This, as you even get close to it, you can see that the city over here has like a so once you're within, like, say, a 3-minute walk of it, once you're kind of a 3-4 minute walk of it, as you get closer, you see the tone of the city itself just completely changes. There's less people in the streets. There's less volume of the people that are there. Nobody's really standing around and talking. They're more or less just going to or from wherever they need to be, or like hanging out in their own living space. Either you can see them through the window or on like a stoop or what have you. But certainly once you get up to the complex itself, there are no just random passersby. You might see like the occasional like child or two, sitting there watching in kind of awe at the soldiers doing their marches or jogs around the building, or the practice with the thrusts of spears or swinging of swords and whatnot, doing their drills in the courtyard. So when you come walking up to this place, nobody immediately pays you mind, because nobody's stupid enough to do anything dumb here, because tons of soldiers. You can immediately see when you go up there too, that there are a bunch of different doors going into this this kind of like larger complex. Each of the doors have signs on them to suggest what it is they go to. You can see, hey, there's a commissary here. That's great news. That means if Tesh's thing that he requested comes in, it could actually be forwarded here, because there's a legitimate commissary here. You can also see that there is like an office that happens to be here. You can see that there's the mess hall that's here. So if you guys just really miss that military food, you can come here and grab yourself a free meal. As well as like the actual like sleeping quarters or whatever. I imagine your characters would go over to the office area itself. The office area here is not small by any stretch, like you might usually expect at the barracks. It's not small. It takes up a decent amount of space. So even just stepping into the door itself and looking about, you can see that there's a good number of people inside of here that happen to be working. They have several different desks inside here. There are a bunch of different rooms. You don't know what this building used to be used for, but they've certainly converted it in a way that is beneficial for them. Certainly newer walls stand out. But either way. One last detail. You can also tell that there is construction. If you, depending on the angle you approach from the building outside, there's construction on one of the walls outside. It's near complete. They're kind of like just like cleaning up and hitting it with some, staining or whatever for the new wood or whatever happens to be over there. The structure is made out of stone. You're inside the building. As you go walking into the building, this is where somebody will actually look over to you guys and say, you three, can we help you?
Triss would salute.
Oh, yeah.
And say, Triss, champion.
He nods, because I imagine you wear your insignia or whatever on you, don't you? Oh, actually, no, because it's not on your... Oh, yeah, because you would have it on your armor. Why wouldn't you, right?
I believe, technically, it's the badges that attach my cloak to my armor that have my insignia.
Oh, and because you're...
We have like...
no, you have it.
So I have it on, yes. But I believe if you look at the art, it is removable. Okay. Thanks, artist.
Go ahead,
I think for all of us, we would have ways to remove our insignia for when we use the other identities anyway. Yeah. So now we would have them on, I assume.
Yep. You guys get that military Velcro badges on. It's like, it's so convenient. You can just walk over and just like rip a patch off of somebody else's, uniform, throw it on yourself real quick. I mean, that's a good use of mending, right? If you imagine like the way that military uniforms work nowadays, you just walk over with a knife and just cut off somebody else's like, and then just put on your shoulder, cast mending, and all of a sudden you're like, just got a promotion. You go walking through the next security area. So.
So that's how you get them.
So I just noticed something weird. I just have a quick question about.
Nice.
Disable device is one of those skills that you can't do unless you're trained in it, right?
Correct, and you just have to have 1 rank to be trained.
Yeah.
But it also has special rules.
1 rank.
Yep.
So you can get a rank in it.
Yep.
Oh, well.
And that means you're trained.
Yep.
If you have 1 rank in it, you are trained.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So if you level up and put a rank in it, you're trained. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
That, okay. I thought it had to be a class skill.
No. So that confusion there. Only people with the class feature, I can't remember what it's called, allows you to open things like magical locks, right?
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, because I was looking at it, I'm like, I have a way to buff disable device. Why then can I not use it? Because it's not a class skill. That makes more sense. Okay, thanks.
Class skill just means that when it's trained, i.e., you have 1 rank in it, you get a +3 bonus. Rogues have an ability called trap finding. Trap finding means that a rogue can use a disable device to disarm magic traps. Most people can't do that. Only people with that.
I do have a thing to find traps. An ability to find traps.
So funny enough, it used to be only rogues could find magic traps. Now
wait, hang on. I do have trap finding as it's like literally that. Yep. A trailblazer can use disable device to disarm magic traps.
Cool. Unless you've traded out for something else, which I think you traded to have that, you actually can disable magic traps.
Yeah. So I need to put points in that next level.
Yeah, because it's probably a class skill for you, right?
No, it's not. That's what was confusing to me. Yeah, even for Trailblazer. Trailblazer gets survival instead of crafting. Survival instead of use magic device, but he doesn't get disable device.
That's unusual.
That's why I was so confused about it.
Click Trailblazer. It's exactly as you just said right there.
Yeah.
And what's the other archetype you have?
Crystal Warrior.
And same there.
Which doesn't change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a class skill, so you just lose out on the fun little +3, but you can still.
Yeah, but I also get half my level to it, so that's not that bad.
but it's trained only, so if you don't have at least 1 rank, you're not even allowed to roll.
Yeah, I can't do it yet. I just need next level. I need to put ranks in it.
The one exception
now that I know that's a thing
is knowledge skills. You can still roll even untrained. It's just you cap out at a 10. So.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
All right, cool. Just be happy we don't have cross-class skills, as Nori mentioned there, like 3.5, where what is it? You spent skill points for half ranks if it was a cross-class skill.
Like KOTOR.
Oh yeah, like KOTOR, which is based off of 3.5. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you had, but you also had way more skill points. You had at first level, you had your base number × 3, so ×4. Sorry, ×4, and then normal after that. But anyways. So back to game. You would go walking in, and you would say your rank, and they would kind of like nod, and the others as well. They look around, they go, "Oh, you're one of us, but I don't know you, or you're that insignia." He says, looking at it, and he kind of looks over to somebody else, and he's like, "Hey, Clint, this looks strange to you?" The guy looks over and he goes, "Oh, fucking hell. You're from Dween, aren't you?"
Just would not.
No, we're not.
And the BT is hiding behind the two of them.
Hold up. I have really bad hay fever right now, so if you guys can kind of take over. I've been sneezing like 3,000 times since you started.
Yeah, now you feel bad, don't you, Scott? You little bastard.
Hay fever. Fun. Hay fever's an allergy?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we call just like general allergies to.
No, it's pollen. Yeah. What do you call it, Scott?
Allergies.
Oh yeah, you do, don't you? You're like my allergies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Weird.
Yep. Allergies. Yep. Except I don't have allergies. I was built different. So.
Yeah, neither do I. But my body the other day was like, you know what? Maybe you do have an allergy to something, and I came out in hives for 2 nights.
That's the worst.
Oh no,
which is
that was Chloe just giving you affection and your body just shunting it. Yeah.
and I was like, this is so horrible and itchy. And what the fuck, immune system? Now's the time you decide to do some work. Come on, dude, stop. Thankfully, it cleared up.
So he says, "You guys like fucking hell. That's you're here from Dween, aren't you?" And you give kind of a bit of a nod, and so they both kind of like stare at you blankly for like a second or two, and then one of them will say, "So, what are you doing here?"
Do we have like did we have a contact here that we were to report to?
Actually,
I can't remember.
I think he did give you one.
That's what I thought as well.
1 second.
Yeah, I remember there being a name, but I can't remember if it was specifically said we were going to them.
Over. Oh, where are you? Here you go. So you would be dealing with here for this city. Sorry, for this command post. It'll be Battle Commander Rylor. Reilor.
Right.
I'd just say to them, here to report to Battle Commander Rylor.
And so they kind of look at you and say, "You're here for the BC."
Yes.
Kind of like shrug at each other. Well, the battle commander is not about right now. He's sorry, Rylor. Oh yeah, the battle commander is not about right now. He's off handling a situation a little bit to the north of here. There's a bit of a problem on the river that he's taking care of. I imagine he'll be back in the next couple of days' time. Would you like to speak to his what is it? Sorry, Lieutenant Centurion, his LC, or at least then.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we'll talk to him and just more or less report that we're here. But what I will say is trouble on one of the rivers.
One of them nods. He's like, "Yeah, there's been a problem with," and the other one's like, "Hey," and he's like, "What?" "Oh yeah, fucking River King." With all due respects.
None taken, but sounds like you guys could possibly use a hand, you know, what with guarding your river and all.
So you kind of say this, and you can see that there's a few of the other people that are kind of like around listening in. They kind of like are very obviously listening in a little bit more. You can go ahead and roll a what's the word I'm looking for here? Sense motive. Thank you, sir.
That was the best use of none taken ever.
Okay, is that everybody? It is. So with that 24 sense motive, Gallon, I would actually say also Viggo gets it. It makes sense that Tristan wouldn't. The other people that are listening in, you can see that they're listening in because they're kind of like, oh shit, this is going to be one of those fun scenarios. Let's see how this plays out. It's like the whole interbranch rivalry thing. Like you guys are not in your own area. There's a little bit of shade being thrown, a little bit of shade.
This is my jurisdiction.
Yeah, that whole bit. And so people are kind of like listening in. That's what you're able to pick up, Viggo. But you, Gallon, you can tell like the tone of the room. The people who are listening in, they're definitely leaning towards the side of the group that's around them. They definitely have their local pride.
I'm not sure. Given the situation, I don't think Gallon would interfere yet. It was a poke back at the poke from them. So I think it's fine for now.
So Neil, you said it sounds like you need help with your.
I believe he said something very similar to. Sounds like you guys could use some more river guard. or something to the effect. of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, so it sounds like you need
Obviously,
some help
being a
securing
nod
your
to the
river.
fact that river guard is a thing.
Yeah.
The one that's been being slightly more amicable is says no, nothing like that. It's all fine and being taken care of. There's lots of issues to be dealing with here. At least this time it wasn't in the city, right? And you can actually hear like a couple of people around the room kind of like grumbling under their breath.
You have many troubles within the city.
He looks at you like he wants to answer, and he says, maybe best you talk to the Leeson about that.
Fair enough. Well, if we can be of service, I'm sure the BT is happy to help our neighbors. Just let us know.
He nods. If you wanted to speak to the Leeson, she is she's in her office now.
Just would look to the BT.
Yeah, I'd motion for them to lead the way or tell us where it is.
Okay. They'll absolutely gesture towards the big. Go down that hall, door on your right, and you guys will find yourself where you need to go.
Alright.
Okay.
We do that.
You guys go down the hall. You turn right, and you open the door to a latrine.
I did need to go. Thank you.
They didn't lead you. It's one of those things. You guys are over there. You open the door, and
I yell it out.
The room back
And
there
then
starts.
yeah.
starts
Then
laughing.
I will take a piss.
Tris will poke his head back into the room and be like, "Your commander, right, floater."
So there is some laughter, and then the room falls silent.
Because they're in the room now, of course.
And then you will hear a woman's voice kind of like pierce through the very recent silence and say, "Are we having a good laugh?" So, silence again.
She's not behind me, is she?
No. She's across the room.
Thank
to
God.
us. Yeah.
Okay, good.
You yelled it out to the room that she's now in. Yeah. Luckily, she's not the commander. She's a Centurion. So, yeah. So she says, "You're having a good laugh." The room stays silent, and then you can hear the boots fall as she's making her way over towards the hallway where you guys are. She sees the two of you standing there as Jake is shaking it no more than twice. He doesn't want to play with it. I mean, that's inappropriate here. And she sees the two of you inside the hallway and says, "I do apologize for the immaturity of the ladies and gentlemen that serve in this office. They will certainly be doing laps before they go home later on," which is unusual for office folk. And there's some groaning happening inside the office. She looks and says, "If you'll please follow me, I'll bring you to my office." And
Tris would smile when she finishes and say, "Good for them to let us some steam."
She doesn't smile, but doesn't look annoyed at your comment. Just kind of like lets it go. And then she'll turn and start walking. Jake, do you try to like quickly wash your hands and catch up with them, or not enough time? Just fall in step.
No, I wash my hands.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. You know, sometimes
He's a surgeon. You can't get the
This is-
yellow
this is,
humor mixed in with the red humor?
What-
Come on.
Yeah.
What Gallon would do is he would do that thing where, like, whenever we round a corner, he would wait at the corner until he gets like eyesight of Viggo, so Viggo can be that corner, and then he would like will catch up to the others, sort of thing, just to make sure he knows where to go.
Thank you.
So
I think
anyway,
we've all done that before. That like
My
you
God.
like helping the person who's lagging behind.
usually at like a restaurant or whatnot, right? Because they had to grab something from the car before they came into the table.
Yeah.
So anyways, restaurants, do you remember those? So
It's been years. I think it actually has been years.
Yeah. Actually, I got noticed at a restaurant recently. I went out with Britt and Rory, and as I was leaving, I went to go ask the bartender a quick question, just about something that they do there. And he goes, "Are you Scott?" And I was like, "Yes." And he goes, "Huh, I haven't seen you in years." I was like, "And you are?" And he pulls out his mask, and I was like, "Ryan?" And he goes, "No, Tavis." And I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" Awkward 3-minute conversation. 10 minutes later on the drive home, I know who that is.
That's the worst.
It was so obviously on my face too. I just had finished having dinner with my family. I got out of work, whatever. I remember. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, don't worry about it, Scott. He'll understand. At your age, that's normal.
Well, that was the problem. Last time I saw him, he had hair and stuff. Like he was like 13 years younger, 14 years younger.
Dude.
Like it was a long time ago. Like last time I saw him, Anna was like is still suckling. You know, like it was a long time ago.
That was the
Anyways,
sentence I never wanted to hear.
so you guys go walking and following behind her to her office. Her office is happens to be like a smaller office immediately adjacent to the actual commander's office, right? So she leads you in. We guys are welcome to stand as she goes over to her desk. And she'll take a seat behind her desk, kind of like as she's sitting down, getting settled in. Like a second or two later, Viggo comes walking in to make sure you guys are all there. She looks at the three of you and says, reporting in from Dwayne.
Just would salute, as this is official reporting in. Doesn't want to be too disrespectful.
Alan would
to
as
them.
well, yeah.
And give his name and rank.
Yep. Do you have papers? Orders?
I assume we would have had something to hand over.
Yeah.
So you'll hand stuff to the Lieutenant Centurion, and she looks over everything and says, "Everything seems to be in order here, but it seems as though your responsibility is to do an investigation as to the local problem with the we'll give them the credence of calling them a rebellion."
Indeed.
Well, rest assured, the problem is being handled. Your talents and expertise in this matter are unnecessary and unneeded. So, I'm sorry that you have traveled this whole way, but you are not needed. You can send our regards, of course, back to your... what position does he hold now?
With all due respect, ma'am, that is not your call to make.
Oh, it's a vacuum. I was like, what the hell was that? I thought my dog was growling outside the door. I was like, what the? It's a vacuum, like way over there. You say, with all due respect, it's not your, ma'am, it's not your call to make. She's only, what, one rank above you? Because you're a BT, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
She looks at you and says, excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong, but which province are you in?
I'll name the province. I can't remember.
Diligus.
Doing.
Daelric.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry. Not the.
Oh, no. There goes the internet. You popped the fuse and killed the internet. Yep, you destroy the internet.
I'm so sorry.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Fuck. Can you fix the break? Is it a breaker?
I have no idea.
All I did was vacuum. I just popped the thing.
I know. It's just because we have heaters on. You can't
Sorry,
use.
I wasn't even plugged in over there. It was in the hallway.
That's why my office needs to have its own wires here. Oh, funny enough, this is still being recorded at least. Well, I'm gonna mute myself for a minute.
Good. That's
Yeah, it's a
that's
good idea.
that's potential.
Can chat hear me? Can you? Oh, and then the video is already up and everything. Can you guys hear me? Can you see us? Oh, okay, cool. So the short version is that Brittany was vacuuming, and Yeah, and I've never finished the because there's some things about electrical work that I don't feel comfortable doing. It's just not safe for me. So half my office is on its own breaker, and the other half is still on a breaker, kind of like tied with other parts of the house. So because I had a heater on that breaker, and she also vacuumed on that breaker. That's also where the internet is. When she vacuumed, it was just too much draw. Yeah. So I just eventually have to have an electric, because all it is installing a new breaker at the main and switching over. I already have all the lines kind of preset. So it's literally install a new breaker at the main and then cut wire here and here and tie these together, and the problem is solved. I mean, I can technically do it. It's definitely illegal. It's definitely a legal requirement over here. Hold on, I'm gonna bring back your voices. It's definitely a legal requirement over here that you have to have a professional do it. But I won't lie, it's one of those things where, like, if it's a single breaker, you know. But I actually, because my house, because it's a little bit older, it's half fuses, half breakers. I actually want to have an electrician come in and just redo the entire main as all breakers and clean it up, because it is, again, with it being an older house, you have this one fuse will control these several things that you're like, they're on the opposite parts of the house. And I know exactly how it happened because of tie-ins. So, like, for instance, my bedroom's upstairs. You know that, right? So the electricity that comes.
Oh no, I thought this was your bedroom.
Ha 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 ha.
I thought Brett kept you in the dungeon.
So the electricity that comes in from beyond, while waiting for Jake to return, comes in through more or less my light switches there. My light switches control the 12 lights overhead, but that same electricity drops down and feeds into several outlets.
Oh no!
What?
The joke that was just made in chat.
Oh, I'll switch you guys around. That's just because
it got worse as the joke went on.
Tristan's that casting. Jesus. That makes sense. So these are all on one thing that also tie back up into the roof to an outlet that I have in my bedroom upstairs. So literally down here feeds upstairs, just because that was the way that was just the easiest way to tie everything in. So technically, even when I make that line fully independent, it's going to have one of my bedroom switches kind of connected to it. And then the other one kind of feeds in from this wall and comes all the way around to all of these outlets, and also goes up and controls my 2 ceiling outlets that I have up there too. So again, it's just I just need to finish doing the work. That's all. All right.
So while you were gone, we were just having a really nice chat. And then you came back, and I didn't realize you come back. And for a moment, I was terrified that I doxed Tesh, and because we were just talking about Australia. I was like, oh my god, no.
It's okay. Luckily, I've already made the mistake of saying what city I live in online, so it's okay.
Yeah, Pokemon Go told me.
Yeah. Like, you know the suburb, so that's a little different.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I've got a set of Pokemon Go gifts that I only send to close friends because it's got my suburb on where I picked up the gift.
It's so weird, isn't it? Yeah.
It says the location that you picked up the gift. The gift.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I only send those to the close friends.
Is that something that you can't? Is this something that you can't?
I don't think so.
No. It literally even has a photo of the spot that you picked it up on the gift.
Why? That seems
because the Pokemon you picked it up from a Pokemon Go stop, and so
it's supposed to be part of the social aspect. I think that oh look, I was here and I picked this up.
They didn't think about the fact that it could dox people.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's funny.
I think there should be a way to disable.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I'm not the doxing type.
Well, I mean, just mean it's a game that thrives on, hey, you're playing on the internet, and the internet is a place where you play with people from all over.
Look,
But, like,
we mentioned casting, and Alyssa's like, "I'm here, guys."
Yeah,
I
there's
fix
a
it.
there's a Pokemon Go stop opposite my house. Those ones, I don't send those gifts. I delete them.
Peace.
All right,
This
there's
is
a
I'm not
Pokemon
risking
Go
that.
spot next to his house. Everybody look up all Pokemon Go stops in Australia.
No.
Yeah, there are enough that's not going to even help remotely.
Start with the Western Territories and start moving your way across.
There is, though. To be fair, there is a gym just down the road from me. Big fan of that one.
I used to live on a street that had a like a memorial or whatever at the end of it, and that was it was like a World War I or World War II or Vietnam War memorial or whatever on it, and that was like a gym for like battling, and I was like, I feel like this is distasteful.
That's that's a little. Oh no!
But
There, honestly, that's not the only one of those I've seen. It's because, like for the most part, they're not. They were like submitted for as markers for a different game, and then
Black and
they
White, or whatever it's
used
called. Yeah.
they used that like all those points.
Yep.
A lot of the newer ones were added by people suggesting locations,
Yep.
and those are all great. But some of the old ones, you're looking at, you're like, this seems. There was one that's like it had like 3 gyms in a kid's playground area, and then just nothing anywhere around. I'm like, this is really bad.
So the street that I lived on was a really quiet street. You know, it was just because it was like there's a main road, and it was like a road right next to the main road that was kind of like a dead end. So nobody drives on that road unless you're going on that road, because like it's a small, most kind of like a dead end street. But like the end of the street was a gym. So all of a sudden, like I'm driving to work one day, and I'm like, why are there like 8 cars parked over here? This is weird. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, I'm like, this is so weird. Why is this going on? It was actually Brittany who was talking to somebody at work, and they're like, oh yeah, I was by your house the other day because there's a gym over there. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like Pokemon Go. Again, I only ever played Pokemon Go for maybe 45 minutes ever. So I was like, huh? And I realized it was like geocaching, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At my old house, there was nearby like a football field, and the car park had like 3 gyms in it, and the result is like the car park would be completely empty except for like 3 cars, and you'd like see your car come in and park, and then a couple of minutes later it would drive off. And someone nearby is just watching people come and park at this parking lot and then leave and being like, what the fuck is happening?
That is amusing.
That is, it's just funny how the whole thing goes. And bot is running again. Okay, cool. So it's just funny how the whole thing like changed society. I used to have my cooks that were working for me at the time would, oh, Jake's back, cool. My cooks that were working for me at the time, they'd be like, I'm gonna go for a smoke break. I'm like, all right, cool. But then like the non-smokers would go out for smoke breaks too, which in my opinion, absolutely. If you're a smoker and you're allowed a smoke break, non-smokers should be allowed the same exact permission. But it was people that never did it before, so I thought it was like a strange change of pace. And then I found out it's because they were going out to catch Pokemon. So like, it was like a Saturday night, and somebody like came back in from, I was like going into the dinner rush, and during the dinner rush, they're like all excited talking about like a Charmander or something. I was like, why are you talking about like, oh, I caught one out in the parking lot, and I'm like, oh my god,
it's cute, isn't it? It's great. I like it.
It's all good.
Did you see the 2 police officers?
No.
There's 2 police officers that got done for avoiding a call.
Oh yeah, they ignored a call.
To Snorlax.
This was in New York City, right?
I can't remember where it was, but like another car.
I remember seeing it. Yeah.
Another cop car drove past on like they were on the way to a call. They drove past a street, and they saw a cop car on the street. They're like, "Hang on, why haven't they like responded to this?" And then like it was like they went. Investigation happened. They got like the audio from the dash cam, and they're literally like, "Should we take this?" No, there's a Snorlax. Give me a second.
Well, just remember, cops are people too. You know, like
No,
we have all
like-
we have all shirked responsibility for our own. It's just we hold police officers to a higher standard and whatnot, of course. But we're all people too. You know, it's just right. Like I would rather a police officer make that mistake than some of the other ones they do in New York City.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You know, but humans are humans, and while that is certainly an actionable situation, immediate termination, you know, that's for the department to decide, right? Cool. I'm sure they had to make an example of it, you know. Like,
Yeah, I
we do
can't
not
remember what
stand for
actually
Pokemon
happened.
here.
It was just a really funny. They released like a whole big long log of what they were doing, and they would like there was a whole thing about them chasing a Togepi.
Jesus. Okay, maybe further action was definitely required. Oh my god. Like, hit the sirens, boys. We got a Togepi on the run. It's like, Toga.
Where did we cut off in the conversation we were having?
It was the Lycie there. She was saying that Lyson, she was more or less like, we don't need you. You guys were like, I'll avoid that.
With all
joke,
due
too.
respect.
So with all due respect, we don't need you. You it looks like you need some. Hold on.
No, it was with all due respect. That's not your call to make.
Yeah, that was what Jake had the last line. That's exactly.
Yeah, I was
Jake
being
had that,
respectful.
yeah.
She was just being, you know.
With all due respect,
Rude.
that's not your call to make. She folds the paper up and puts it in front of her and says, "You know what is my call to make? Who has what authority to act? Who has what authority to act with the force and command of the local?" Sorry, my brain is just trying to get back into the swing of things. Who has the authority to act with the sway and command of the local Paradol military? That is, of course, the Delegas military behind them. If you wish to conduct your investigation, you are, of course, entitled to do so. As citizens of Paradol, you can, of course, act in any way you feel is appropriate, so long as it falls within the letter of the law. Now, that does, of course, mean that you can't go and find yourself in the middle of one of our investigations. You know what I mean? If you were in the way...
Viggo stands up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you were always standing.
Oh, yeah, well, he steps forward, leans over and puts a hand on the paper, pulls it towards him and says, we took this meeting with you as a courtesy. As you can tell by these orders, we were to report to, and he says such as, like, whatever the name is, I can't remember.
I got it right.
And,
B.C. Raylor.
Yeah, Rylor.
And he says, I really hope to work with you. In Dween, we don't turn down assets. Maybe that's why there's no rebellion in Dween.
When you say that, she stands up and says, "You come waltzing in here, sitting cushy in the center of Paradol, with safety afforded to you by the hard work, blood and effort of those that die on the border every day, and you think that you have the ability to speak down to someone who is of a higher rank than you? I'll have you know, BT, that this will be marked, noted, and delivered back to your River King."
You are
Mark
right,
it down
man.
and note it, because I'm here to bleed for Paradol. That's why we're here.
You're right that men and women die on the border every day. Why not let us share some of their perils? Unless you want your own people to die.
So that's actually one of the most convincing lines delivered thus far. I'll allow Tristan to go ahead and roll a diplomacy, but Jake can tack on and intimidate for how he was approaching as a good cop, bad cop kind of aid. So Jake, you roll first, followed by him.
Sure.
It's like a role reversal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jake's character
Nico.
can't stand annoying red tape.
Fair enough.
Ooh.
Did you want
Do
to
you want
lock
to
that?
lock that?
Roll a luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tash is like, I'm going to say it before him. What? Awesome. So that's a 22. That's pretty solid. And actually, there was
2 dice left.
another
Nice.
one delivered. No, there's one more that was given an hour ago. I didn't notice it from
Oh,
Viking.
3 dice left.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, Viking. All right, so anyways, yeah, you so with the 22, you say, can you deliver that one more time, Neil? I'm sorry, it was sharing the blood on the border.
He agreed with her. He said that the men and women do die on the border every day. Now we can share our blood as well, or something equivocal to basically. Yeah.
Why don't you let us share some of the perils?
Yes.
Why don't you let us share some of the perils?
So when you deliver that line, you can actually see that she's clearly, as she stood up as well, and whatnot, as I said, she was clearly seething. You deliver that line, and there's like a good second and a half pause, and then she'll actually, like, the words kind of sink in and the meaning behind them. And you see her take like a steadying deep breath, and she says, conduct your investigation. Let's see if you can unveil anything. Now, the tone to that has a slight change to it. It's still a fuck you, but it's more of a permission also involved. Like, she's giving you the permission that you were looking for to begin with, even though you didn't necessarily need it. But not in a condescending way. Not like, you can have my permission. It's more of, I'm giving you my permission, but let's see if you're even useful. So
yeah, it's I'm giving you permission, but with a little bit of a sting on the end.
Yeah. You have her blessings. But to be clear, having her permission means that you have the backing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Which is what we needed.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just means we can flash the fact that we're Paradol military, and have that be an actual thing, and not have to be like, oh, we're just civilians investigating.
Okay. So
it's just salute and file out, I assume.
Okay. And do the three of you just turn and walk out?
Go on, let's salute and walk out.
Okay.
Yeah. Salute and say happy to be of assistance.
And you guys can go and head your own direction. So you head out of her office and out of the place entirely, making your way to, like, we'll just walk down the streets. Any words with one another? Because you know that what's his name is going to be returning in several days.
Triss would let out a slight whistle and look at the BT and say, "That was harsh." Not like in a condemning way, just like
he's like, we're all Paradel. I really don't understand these times.
I agree. But we got what we needed. We'll see the BC in a couple of days. Guess we need to find.
Might have saved that one there, Triss.
Yeah,
good job.
Happy to help. Though, I don't disagree with what you said. We are all on the same team. Sometimes it's difficult to see that. The Dween here seems to get under people's skin. I guess that comes with being a king in a land full of princes.
There's a smile, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is you gotta laugh.
That is a good line.
Wow.
Well, we need to figure out where to
That's
start.
one to bring a smile to the River King's face, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, you have a little something right there. It's a little like a brown smudge.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, so you guys go walking off. So without having the immediate kind of like information or whatever handed over for you, because the commander is not here, what's your plan? Who do you like? What tactic do you guys want to take? Unfortunately, you were hoping to just be handed leads to you immediately, but you dealt with attitude instead. So what's your approach?
I think the best thing we should do is get comfortable and familiar with where we are.
I think that's true. we may even pick up some. Oh, and it's okay. We may even pick up some details while we're getting familiar with everything. Like we might be like walk past an area and it's cordoned off and be like, what happened here? And so on and so forth.
Sorry,
I think we should try
thought
and
I heard
buy
Brittany
a.
downstairs. It wasn't her.
We should
Like,
see if we can get a map of the city.
It was just someone else.
That's true. We would like a map of the city. Actually, do you think the office workers would be happy to oblige us if we just said, oh, like on the way out? Do you think we could, or like pop back in and be like,
Holds the high sense motive? It was Gallon, right?
Gallon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Gallon would certainly, if you have that conversation, Gallon, why don't you go ahead and roll me an intelligence check?
Ooh, okay. Hey, that's not bad.
You can remember there were a couple people in there when there was that whole little tiff and everything that was going on between them and the other office workers. And then they sent you to the toilet, kind of like they were taking a piss, if you will. If the there were like one or two in there that seemed to think that the whole conflict, similar mind, thought like what was going on was stupid. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool.
So those kind of stand out in your mind.
Then yeah, I assume from where they're standing, we probably figure out which door they came out of, or we're looking through and go that way to try and find help, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you 100% can just go walk back in. I mean, like I said, it's later in the day, so you can imagine the office is closing down. But would you go walk back in the office, or like what would your approach be?
Well, I'd tell them where the people were, and then discuss with them about what we do. So, I think we go back in and ask.
well,
Sure. While we're here.
if I recall correctly, you didn't really say too much, so maybe you could pop in and just have a quiet word. You know, you got the unassuming look to you. He winks.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. And I am just going to go to one of the people that I saw. I assume I can find them.
Yeah, it's not a big issue. Like I said, people are kind of like already getting off for the day because of how late in the day it is. So you can kind of walk up to one of them, sure. And as you go walking back in, you know, you can see a couple of the other people roll their eyes as you come in. I mean, it's childish, of course, but you know, when you just sit in an office all day, you know.
Excuse me. I was wondering if there was a map of the city we could procure.
A map of the city.
Or at least the districts, any sort of information that could be useful.
I mean, there are things like that exist, but those are not something that, you know, they're expensive and hard to come by, unless you were to have a private cartographer do it for you, or that you could purchase off of.
Would there happen to be any in the building that I could at least have a look at briefly?
There are some inside the building that I believe there's some that I believe you have access to. They say kind of like looking over your shoulder and around at the others in the room just to see if anybody's really fighting against it. I don't know if any of you, the other ones, if you chime in or not.
This is Gallon's show.
Yeah, I went in there alone, I think, because the others, there was tension, a little bit of tension.
Yep. So
we engaged actively in the banter, whereas
he wasn't a part of it, yeah.
Gallant did not, yeah.
So anyways, yeah, you they kind of like look around past, and others just don't chime in. They go, yeah, there are others. You might be able to take a glance at it, but you certainly wouldn't be able to take it with you.
That's
I
okay.
believe they say, as you said, it's okay. It's like, I believe you can get special permission to have, depending on the map, a cartographer come and make a copy of it for you, but that would be out of your own pocket.
I understand. I may do that. If I could just see the map first, I just want to have a lay of the land first, and then I'll come and get the details later.
They nod and say, same idea. I'm going to have to get permission to do that. Do you mind coming back tomorrow?
No, not at all. I can do that.
Okay. They kind of say, if you come back in the morning, I can have at the very least the tubes pulled aside, that have the different districts and whatnot inside them, so you can check them out a little bit further.
Perfect. Thank you.
They nod, and you can go on your merry way.
Yep. I'll go and tell them of what's happening. I would also tell them that hopefully I can memorize them and we won't have to pay for a cartographer. But yeah, I'll come back tomorrow and get that.
Oh, I'm a cartographer, but guess.
Well, that works.
You're a
can-
cartographer?
You can
Yeah.
cartographize.
I thought you
it.
were
To
an
make that
alchemist.
one really good map, you know.
Oh yeah, I
That-
forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't think Neil was here for that though, actually.
Yeah, no, you weren't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I forgot about that. Then yeah,
I
that
thought-
works.
I thought you were an alchemist.
Oh, man of many talents.
So you're an alchemist and a cartographer, a surgeon. Anything you can't do? I mean, other than fight.
That is why I have you two. I'll have you know, I killed 5 of the orcs that attacked us in the Barren Lands, and everyone else was knocked out. Thank you.
He'd clap you on the shoulder. Lightly, not hard.
Hey, you think you're tough, huh? You're real tough killing those orcs, huh?
God.
Map is well. I thought we did the map in.
It was very rudimentary. It was more or less like some memorizing
okay.
some pipelines as opposed to whole maps. So, but that's fine.
It's all right. If I have access to it, I can hopefully make a decent copy.
You can memorize points on a map with great ease. So let's say, for instance, you had a map without a legend. You know what I mean? You can memorize like certain bits of detail, like
Okay.
absolutely.
Then what I
perfect.
might do is I might just when we're looking at it tomorrow, I'll memorize. I'll think about points that would be good to memorize, and I'll just remember. I'll do a couple of points while he tries to copy it.
I would have thought you'd be able to either memorize a district perfectly or all the districts, but not necessarily, because it says there a single page of diagrams.
Yeah, but again, diagrams is not going to be a whole map. That's
No,
map is way
but
more
diagrams can
complicated.
be very complex. To
Sure.
be fair,
It's okay. I understand what he means. I think what we're going to do is I might actually go back to the person and ask if we can actually get permission to
Well, you'll do that.
have a
you-
cartographer because we have a cartographer.
Yeah, you'll do that in the
with
morning.
us.
You'll just,
Yeah.
if you guys
Okay,
tonight, so let's just kind of like skip ahead for you a little bit here because more or less, Jake, if you make sure that you purchase the supplies needed to do cartography, make sure you have the appropriate parchment, inks, and so on and so forth, and not a small amount of it because making a map is very involved. You're more than welcome to do that. You guys are going to get the permission because it's not going to be difficult. And I don't know how long you wanted to spend on this one, but certainly the better part of tomorrow at the very least you could spend drawing over the map if you'd like.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do.
Sure. So I imagine you're going in there and drawing over the map, and I know that Tesha's character would be there trying to memorize certain details and whatnot as you guys discuss it, because there's some things that maybe you don't want written on the map because you tend to be a little bit secretive of a group or whatever, and so Tesh, you can
Maybe
trust his mind.
I'll memorize like where our place is, for example, but that won't be on the map. Maybe.
Yeah, where the place is, and maybe memorizing routes, the easiest routes to get between A and B. If you think of the
Exactly,
5e, what's that background ability?
street urchin or whatever,
Yeah.
know the fastest routes to get
Yeah.
from A to B
I'd
within an urban
memorize-
environment.
Yeah, that whole bit.
Yeah, our apartment routes to the barracks and to the docks.
Yep.
And then
To
probably
the horse and all that stuff.
Yeah, to the horse. I'll remember stuff like that just so we know that we can have those and we don't have to put it on the map.
Yep. All that stuff is good news. Cool. So that's easily what you're able to accomplish there. Before I go any further with that, Neil, what would your character be doing? Just for like imagine. Oh, but Jake, how long would you want to spend doing it, or do you want to just let the dice fall?
I mean, I want to make a good map.
Okay. So then let's do it like
You know what I mean?
this.
So I'll put the time into it.
I want to find out. These are, these are maps of Galarian. That's not what I want to do. God damn it! Those are hilarious because they're all pictures of maps. It's not what I want. Grr, arg. So let's try under tools and kits and whatnot. That might be a better way of going about this.
Arg. Does it not have cartography tools?
They do, but I was more or less trying to see if I could find something that had like where the price of maps might be. But unfortunately, it is just Googling actual maps. Huh. All right. 1 second. Let's see.
Someone said 40 gold somewhere.
Blue Book.
That seems like a bit much.
So 20 gold is a fake area map.
Yeah, it's one GP per case is 1 gold. Sheet of paper is 4 silver. Colored ink is 16 gold per ounce.
Oof. It's like printing nowadays.
Yeah, yeah.
Worth more than its weight in gold.
Almost there.
If it doesn't have a tag on it, it's free. That's how it works, right? What a thief. Norway's disappointed in you. You know who I'm not disappointed in? Percy. He's an adorable little doggy. Look at him.
All right, cool. So, what you guys are able to do, if you wanted to, is you can get your hands on. So the map itself would.
It's usually half cost to craft, right?
Yeah. But a fake area map is 20 gold pieces, so we can assume that's a pretty good basis.
Yeah.
So let's go with 20 gold pieces, and you're gonna make a cartography check there, Jake.
Yeah. I'll of course be helping myself as well
How do you help yourself?
with this.
Oh, okay.
With Crafter's Fortune.
I was like, what? You can't aid yourself.
It only needs one hand to write the map, dude.
So 20 gold pieces is 200 silver. You pay 1/3 the item's price, and so 20 gold. You have to pay 1/3 that. So 1/3 of 20 gold is what you pay in materials.
Oh my god, I'm so good at maps so far. I'm just saying, I'm going to eventually get a reputation as a cartographer.
Honestly, what you should do, Jake, is you should start looking to increase your DC of what you're crafting by 10, because that makes it so it crafts faster. When you increase the DC by 10, you can craft things more rapidly, right? So
I'm just happy with the extremely detailed map.
Yeah, for a
better than
month-long
theirs.
use, this is.
I went and fact-checked at the town hall.
You're copying their map, and somehow you make a better map than the one you got.
Yeah, like
It's
you see
because, like I
spelling
said,
errors
I copy
or,
I copy their map, and then I go to the town hall, right? I get various other maps. I go to the library, get another map, and I'm cross-referencing and updating.
Oh, Viggo's such a nerd.
So
Yeah.
what I was going at with this is depending on how complex of a map that you wanted, and I assume you wanted like a DC 20 map. It's like a complex map. The way that it works is it's not like rolling higher means that's a better map. You choose how hard you want it to be, the quality that you want. So let's go with your bragging here. Go with the 20, right? And then you multiply the DC by the check result if the check result is successful. In this case, you do 20 times 33 equals 660. And that check result, so if the blah, 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 so if the result times the DC equals the price of the item in silver pieces, which, by the way, the price of the item in silver pieces is what, 200? Right? Then you've completed the item, which means you can draw this map out in 1 day.
Nice.
So you get it done in 1 day. That's the good thing. But because you have that extra time there and whatnot, and you know that such things exist, if you guys want, you can actually also purchase a copy of a blue book. A blue book is kind of like a details. So what it is, you have the map is just like a map with like a key of like a numbered thing, so on and so forth. A blue book is something you can cross-reference with the map, or if you know the layout of the city well enough in your head, you can use a blue book to get an idea of, like, let's say you're looking for specific establishments, or whether they be brothels, or
it's like more
taverns.
Detailed. It's like what
It's like a visitor's
if you have
guide.
like a map with like this reference, blah. This is the reference.
Yeah, it's like a visitor's guide. You know what I mean? Like, jokes aside, one of the things that before I went to France for the first time is I bought a visitor's book, and one of the first things it says is proper etiquette is the first thing it has inside there. And so one of the first suggestions they say is, if you don't speak French, learn these phrases. It'll go a long way for showing respect to the people that whose country you're visiting. You know what I mean? So the idea is, like, it gives you a basic, and it gives you a bonus on knowledge, local bluff, and diplomacy checks used to gather information while inside the city.
Oh yes, that's worth getting.
And it's only 5 gold to get one.
Oh yeah.
So, cool. So you spend a third of 20 gold, and you spent 5 gold to be able to. So what's that? 6. Let's call that 12 gold total to get your hands on those things, including a map that's fairly detailed and whatnot. Now, while you're in there, kind of like you two working on this, what did you say you're working on, Neil?
I didn't. You interrupted me.
Good. That was your time.
I think the best place to start would be getting up and introducing myself to the old lady downstairs, who is, of course, an old lady, and seeing whether she needs any help with any. I'm the new neighbor. Do you need any help with anything? I'm also a big strapping lad. Maybe she needs like help lifting the groceries up or whatever. And just as I'm asking these sorts of questions, I'm also asking about like the gossip, the local deeds. I'm gonna slowly drive the conversation towards finding out. He heard from someone that like things have happened in the city. Is it something I need to be worried about? Are there places I should avoid? Like people I should avoid?
This sounds like a
Bad
diplomacy
Jake.
check, sir.
Bad Jake.
What'd Jake do?
Nothing. He did nothing.
That's not bad. I'm her neighbor.
It turns out she's an assassin.
Okay. So you're very.
She just like whispers, "The syndicate sent their regards."
And then you're like, what? And as you like stumble back scared, you just see she's just holding your sack already, and you're like, no! Already cut it off. All right. So anyways, you have like a pleasant conversation with her, and certainly make friendly, nicey neighbors with her, which is highly unusual. Don't you know in cities, you're never nice to your neighbors. You barely tolerate their presence, and then you move on. Give the occasional nod, and that's it. But only if you see them off the premises. Like if you bump into them at the grocery store, you give them like the occasional nod, and that's it.
Wrong. This is like old person, young neighbor dynamic. This is a Spider-Man dynamic right there.
Okay.
God,
You're into
Jake.
those gilfs. All right. So what is Jake doing?
Don't look at it. Ignore it.
Okay, your name's Messy for the rest of the session.
Yeah.
Oh. Her name's Sasha. All right. So her name's Sasha. So Sasha is kind of talks to you about like the different parts of the city and whatnot. She does say that this place used to be so quiet long ago, but things have gotten more and more intense as of late. Hey, Vid, I don't know whose fault it is or why. All I know is that it's dangerous. The attacks that happen, the retaliation that happens, you need to be careful. And if you're not avoiding the buildings that are exploding or the outright war in the streets, then you have to watch out for the cut purses and the various scandals going on. It's a concern. It's a concern here, lad. I saw you trumpsing up and down the stairs yesterday in that shiny armor of yours. That leads me to believe you're more of the military, right?
You'd be correct.
She nods. She says, "Listen, I understand why we need a presence here. I'm Perrin, born and raised myself. But that being said, it's these people here are still my neighbors, and hopefully you grow to find them neighborly as well, like you are so kind to come and help me with my groceries today. I thought for a moment when I was stuck that I
Oh my God! Stop.
But then you come in riding gallantly to set me straight. Anyways.
Scott couldn't even take it.
I just when people act out, obviously you need to defend yourself, young man. I'm sure you have your own spry lasser lad waiting at home for you too. But remember, this is their home. It's our lands, but it's their home. So just before you take your action, remember that, please.
So wise words. Wise words. That said, I can't overlook someone who's willing to hurt civilians. That's not a way to protect your home.
She nods appreciatively at the words, and she places a hand on your forearm and says, "I'm glad to hear you say those words. Unfortunately, I've heard them many times before." She puts like a cupping hand on the side of your face and says, "Hopefully they actually mean something to you. I'll see you around, lad." And she turns and walks inside of her door. I get stuck again.
You need to stop.
It was Jake, not me.
You're both bad.
Yeah.
You and your little jar, your Batman jar.
Sorry.
Okay, so you go in. So that's what you kind of like find out from her. She did give you some details of local places and whatnot to avoid, and etc. 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 We can say that will stack on with the blue book. Let's give you guys a +3 for handling this area. You know what I mean? So
Cool.
For kind of like trying to figure things out. So that's going to be that first day or whatever of you guys being there, is you kind of walking around, getting the layout of the lands, getting familiar with it. Oh my God, do you smell that? If that isn't sourdough, you go over and you check out the shop and you get one. And it's one of those things too that they hand you the sourdough. You get your fingers out, you hear that like, oh. And not too far down the shop, down the street from there, you find another merchant, Neil, with this really good chowder. Oh, I mean, this is a bay, right? This is a chowder made out of bay scallops. Oh boy, bay scallop chowder. You have that with a fresh sourdough baked only a couple hours ago. Oh no, you're sitting there and you're just having a bit, and it's quiet too. Like the city's loud, which is not your favorite thing, but you don't have the other two with you, so you get to just enjoy like a little bit of silence. Like away from alone to your own thoughts.
Yeah, these guys, they never fucking stop talking. Like, Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, you can imagine it's like a goat's milk chowder as opposed to like a you know. So it's like a nice cream-based chowder. Oh my god,
I like goat's milk.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
As
I have an espresso
You know
afterwards
what I
as
feel
well.
is happening in the city right now as Trish is walking past it. There's actually like some type of whatever their hot dog eating contests are, and there's the person who waves Trish down for the hot dog eating competition.
Oh no.
I'm the fastest hot dog shooter. That is some magical shit. That's all I'm saying.
Scott, is there?
I do not want to participate in him being a part of a hot dog eating contest. That sausage showdown, though. Oh boy.
Oh my god. I'll noise it on it. There we go.
Your neighbor's gonna come out to support him.
Sir, you look like you could tuck away. Sausage.
Imagine just someone walking up to you on the street and saying that. You're just like, I'm sorry, what?
I bet you can handle your meat.
Yeah, and you're like,
Excuse.
I guess in America you don't go, you just pull out your Glock and pat, pat, pat. But
Not in this state.
no?
No. I mean,
What's your preferred concealed carry?
Sorry, Viking in chat.
Why, yes. Oh, no.
we need some American flags in
Oh.
chat, please. So
Look
that'd be
at
a
the
great
doggo.
emote.
I
Just
know, I watched Percy, that was adorable.
like a Speedo booty with an American flag on it. That's a funny emote.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, I would say the Australian flag, but it might accidentally be a New Zealand one, and I don't want to take that chance. So, all right. So let's keep going. You guys have your whatever a whole day passes with you guys doing this. You're actually able to get a good baseline of information of where you can find important local details, so on and so forth, so you can start really laying into the investigation. Neil, you stayed tight to the apartment, right? Like you actually did not venture too far out. And like I said beforehand, it's a relatively safe neighborhood, so there aren't too many concerns that would happen there either way. If you want to go ahead and roll me a perception and a sense motive check just for the time that you spend there, and then we can kind of jump to the next day after this.
You're rolling down the street,
Singing.
smiling at everyone you meet.
Well, you don't see many people, but
Gonna
the ones
eat
you
some
see, you
chowder.
understand.
Yeah. Oh, yep, that one's a prostitute. I get that one. My eyes went straight to it. So, anyways.
Oh, he's smiling at me, so pleasant that. Oh, that's why he's smiling. Sir, I see that you can put away a fair few sausages.
I didn't know our neighbor worked this corner.
I'm so glad to see you settled in so quickly. Oh, you find all the right nooks and crannies in this place. Does you mean nooks and crannies? Yes.
Oh.
Okay. So, you unfortunately aren't able to see too terribly much going on, but one of the things that you are able to tell as you're kind of like walking through the place is that, again, most of the people here speak Daelish. So, like, when you walk up to a place and you, like, go to buy stuff, I mean, a shop owner is not going to be necessarily rude to you. You walk up and you say something in Perrin, like, oh, that sourdough looks delicious. Can I get my hands on some like a piece of that, they'll kind of like look at what you're pointing at and they'll
What
nod.
the hell, dude? Who says that? No one's going to be like, oh, that's one. You would be like, that sourdough looks delicious. But you're not going to be like, oh, I want to get my hands on that. Like, oh, yeah, I'd love to get my hands on those baths. Like, what is wrong with people on this street? You'd be like, could I have a loaf of that, please? No, I want to get my hands on that.
How to phrase it? You know what I mean? Like, I want to sink my teeth in your sourdough. So, hot cross buns. So you are one of the things that you notice is that people here very much speak Daelish, and they mostly speak Daelish to one another. But one of the other things that you kind of pick up as you're here is other military personnel that have been here for a while, that have served here for a while, so on and so forth. When they go walking into places, they very much have that kind of they walk into a place and they speak at people. Speak at people with in Perrin, but they do so like with an elevated voice. So it's one of those things where it's like, I want some chowder. Chowder.
What? No,
These
he's
locals.
not American. He's not American.
So
He's used to dealing with animals, so just point and grunt.
not you. I'm not talking about you doing that. I'm talking about
Oh, right.
the others. My apologies. So this is the kind of like what you see most of these other paramilitary people here, and it's one of those, you can get the impression that when you walked in, not in your armor, right? Because like you're just kind of like hanging around town this day. Though granted, in your
He's out on the town.
in your pad,
he's in padded
armor.
Yeah.
And you might even have your insignia. But when you walk in and you say like, pardon, excuse me, even though you're speaking in Perrin, the fact that you're at least being kind or courteous or whatever, showing respect, goes a long way. And that's what you pick up with the sense motive, is that the people here aren't bad people. They just want to have basic respect and dignity afforded to them, which your character just baseline does, because he's
Mum and Dad raised him right.
Yeah.
Don't say his name isn't Rayron.
Called out so hard. So that night, you guys kind of
knew exactly what you were going to say.
That night, get together, and you guys, can afford the different information or whatever. And then that brings us to the next day, where you have a proper map, you have proper things you can look at, you have the blue book, so on and so forth. You do have the information you guys put together, and we're just going to sum this up, unless you want to RP. We could sum this up with a nice little knowledge local check. Unfortunately, I don't know if any of you guys, before you roll, are any of you guys even skilled in knowledge local?
I am.
Okay, cool. But the problem is, this isn't local to you. This isn't your local. So knowledge local is going to have a big penalty. If you look at the map again, where you're from is you were born and raised in Osto originally, but you spent most of your time in Sahora or Bard.
Virgil also has knowledge local.
Okay, cool. Because then you can provide aid in this, I guess. Yeah, for what research Virgil's able to do as well. Or details he was able to pick up by listening.
Everything, like all of his stuff is research, because one of the things I do is when I meditate, I give him stuff to read. So
the problem is you're 3 countries effectively over from where you were from. So that's a -2, -5, -10 penalty to your check. So when you roll knowledge local, you're gonna have a -10 because you're so far away from your base of what you know is local, right? Beyond that, you have the +3 from the book that you have, and the what Neil is able to pick up with his diplomacy check and talking to the neighbor and eating sourdough and whatnot, which I never described as sour. Virgil is going to roll his knowledge local, or its knowledge local, to see what if he's going to be able to aid you.
What do I need to in terms of what do I need to roll to give him aid, given all of that?
You have to roll with a -10 +3, so a -7. You have to beat a 10.
I have to beat a 10. Okay,
with a -7 total.
And that's with a -7 total. I can't modify Virgil stuff easily, so we'll just -7 from this.
That's perfectly fine, sir.
And he gets half of his level, which he's technically counted as level 6 at the moment, because he's 1 level higher than me.
Cool.
So it's +3 on top of this. So +3. So
-4.
That's 4.
Yep.
-4. Yeah.
Solid. You gave a +3. So,
Fuck yeah.
that's pretty sweet. So Jake, you're actually getting same as him. You're dealing with only a -4 to your check. Go ahead.
Right. I have a question though.
Of course.
While I'm like correlating all this information together, can I boost my check by using things available to me?
You are with the map, the blue book, and the stuff that Neil got. So what else are you referring to?
Specifically this.
Investigative minds, 10 minutes per level. Your mind is available to correlate when attempting have advantage. Absolutely. Yep. You would use more or less, because this is like an hour-long thing that you're doing. You guys are like level 6, I think, or whatever you are. So one casting of this would cover that for you. Yes, sir. Ha,
Do I have
Norway.
anything else that can help me here?
Hire adventurers. I think Jake is the most willing to spend a BP on adventurers. Like
Yeah,
his
well,
kingdom's going to be known as one of
They're
those.
very useful.
Yeah, it's funny because like whenever you, like if you think of a classic Dungeons and Dragons campaign, like a classic one where there's not like some huge overarching story, you're just adventurers being hired by like the local authorities or so on and so forth to solve their problems for them. And Jake's kingdom is literally like a kingdom on the borderlands that is exactly that. He's the local kingdom that's blah 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 blah. Does this give you another +2?
Yeah.
So it brings your total penalty to a
What
-2.
Tears to wine? How does tears to wine work in this?
my
You drink the
total
mead or
penalty
wine,
is-
and yeah, okay.
My total penalty is minus what?
Total
It
was a
from your raw
-4.
roll is now a -2.
Yep.
And you
Okay.
roll with advantage.
And I get to roll twice.
So just apply a
Oh,
-2
that's
modifier.
okay, something.
That's awesome. You took a -10 and turned it only into a -2. That's amazing.
Oh, there's tension building.
Oh,
All right, baby.
fuck yeah.
That's amazing.
Nice.
The lore gem wouldn't apply because you wouldn't Oh wait, how does lore gem, is that to remember things or is that to discover things?
I would thought remember because it's called Lore Gem.
Oh, so what's
Yeah.
perfect recall?
The lore gem.
I just gotta remember perfect recall, sorry. I can't recall perfect
Yeah,
recall.
it's lore gem is spend a full round to better focus your mind and memory, gaining a +2 confidence bonus on all knowledge checks.
Yeah, it's the perfect recall that's throwing me off.
Perfect recall is roll. It's just me adding the
Gotcha.
int twice.
Yep, I understand. I understand. Cool. So yeah, that means you have a 31 without even using a luck die. Do you want to go for that amazing 35 to see if that's possible?
No, we got a 31. That's very good in this circumstance.
Yeah, above a 30 is pretty insane. So, kind of like talking about the different details, so on and so forth, everything that you've discovered, including little tidbits that were said by the neighbor, things that you've kind of like seen on the map, so on and so forth. I have to give you a lot of information. A 31 is just insanely good. So, kudos, sir. So that being said, what you rolled, what you guys were able to discover looking at the maps and the ones that were laid out for you to use, the ones that you kind of like were looking at as well. It was one of those things where while you're doing cartography, you're like, you know, what's his name there? Hey, Gallon, can you go and take a glance at that map over there? And he's like, I don't think we're supposed to use that one, sir. You're like, so could you go take a glance at that map? We're not taking a copy of it, are we? You know, and so you're like, you go over and, you know, use your... Actually, want to do me a favor there, Tesh, just for funsies? Drop me 3 auto hips.
Yep. Okay.
Cool.
Ooh, one of those is low.
I think the DC's 15 to memorize, isn't it?
It is.
Do you want to modify that?
What is our
You've only got a 25% chance. I think we're limited.
yeah,
on
I don't
luck
think I'm gonna luck that.
die. You have
so one of them I
you've
want.
passed 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're able to discover from like looking at other maps, cross-referencing the blue book, a little bit of conversation with the guards, conversation with the ladies, so on and so forth, is kind of like finding out which districts that the different organizations seem to go off in. So first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or the construction over at the garrison. Recently, they were so bold as to actually attack the garrison itself. The garrison had an explosion that took out the side wall, and shortly after, like rebels, if you will, freedom fighters, terrorists, went into attacked into the garrison, like literally sword to sword combat in the garrison itself. Luckily, everybody inside the garrison is trained to fight. They all are part of drills and whatnot, so they can always be able to defend themselves, because at any point in time, their life could be in danger. So, unfortunately, many members of like the office and whatnot, because they weren't adequately prepared, they were literally sitting inside of their desks, were injured, if not killed, when your characters kind of came in. And this happened not too terribly long ago. It was only about 2 months ago, which is why the repairs are almost done now. And this kind of soured up a lot of people's opinion. Like if there was any amount of sympathy towards what it is the rebellion here is doing, having the garrison itself attacked, people attacked inside their beds, so on and so forth, very much soured that up. So that kind of happened very recently. The rebellion itself seems to work in this particular city not as one cohesive unit. There are several different cells, if you will, that have several different wills. They can be found all over. It's known that there's a group that happens to be lingering down inside the sewers. It's predominantly lizard folk. There's a group that happens to be sorry, my throat. There happens to be a group that is there are many different groups kind of like found all around the town. There's tons of informants all over the town, a few known informants that are seen to work for these different groups. There are sympathizers that don't work for the groups but are willing to hand off information casually, rather easily. You know that the beyond all the rebel groups, there are also just thieves guilds. Like just groups of just criminals that aren't for freedom, that aren't for imperialism. Well, they're imperial either way, aren't they? But they're just for their own gain, their own profit, which adds another layer of kind of danger to the city. You can see that the places that you're going to want to avoid to stay safe. You can see the places where you think you can go and get some information if you're under the right disguise. Kind of like all this stuff is laid out before you. Most importantly are some of the names of the different known factions. So if you have yourself a if you have a pen or whatever at the ready.
Okay.
I say pen, but you know what I meant.
Sorry, I don't know how to write.
Okay. So there is the King's Guard is one of the cells. These are a group of warriors that are there for the Daelric King. They say that they're there for the Daelric King to free this up. There's what's called the Harbor Masters. The Harbor Masters are people that are actively always trying to kind of like, so we say, liberate the harbor. This is again a cell of freedom fighters, if you will. What you call it, and then the last like named cell that has a name that's noteworthy because its organization is in the dozens, and whatnot there. So the it's the Jihuan warriors. Which obviously have most of their what I'm saying? They're obviously going to be based along the lake up to the north where the lake is pretty much controlled by these freedom fighters themselves. Beyond that, you do have thieves guilds.
Thieves guilds with an S. There's multiple.
Yep, of course.
Okay, cool. Yep. I was just making sure whether I needed if it was new category or thieves guild.
Okay, so for the thieves guilds, you have the dice lords, which predominantly do gambling and whatnot, but they also will handle like black market goods, so on and so forth. You have the merchants, which are a legal running organization, but it's also known that they have, like, again, with your blue book and the information that the friggin' 31 you got there, they also have a lot of like backdoor dealings and whatnot there. And then the other one that we're going to say is of note is the Black Knights. The Black Knights are a weird little kind of like combination between the two different groups, where they're a thieves guild, and so it's all about for them, but they do so under the guise and purpose of the freedom and liberation of the Dalelands from Paradel. So even though they're a thieves guild, it's all about for them. They've certainly kind of like swayed the people. It's kind of like, a politician. Like, politicians don't really give a fuck about you, but somehow you support them.
They're just taking advantage of it.
Yeah. So they're kind of like a mix between the two. Out of those groups, the ones that are the easiest to get along with are the Dice Lords, because it's predominantly just gambling. Again, they do other stuff like fenced goods, so on and so forth, but that's one of the easiest ones to get along with, because they have no stake in the game. They're just there to make a profit. You know what I mean? So there's the easiest to work with. The merchants, funny enough, Jake, when you realize like the merchants insignia, so on and so forth, you realize you guys were smuggled in through the merchants.
Right, that's interesting.
Yep. So
they might be actually easier to work with in one sense. Willing to do business with Paradel.
they're willing to take a profit.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you're able to kind of discover of the local kind of like organizations and whatnot. You obviously know about the battle commander that oversees the camp or whatever that's there, the garrison that's there, and you know about his lieutenant centurion that serves underneath them. I can certainly give you more details about them if need be, but battle commander is just for the actual barracks itself. The person who actually runs this area, their rank is, so you can write this down for yourself. Their rank here is going to be field commander, because obviously they're overseeing this like kind of greater area, not just like one barracks and whatnot, not just overseeing this one city. It's kind of like the whole region is going to be field commander. Name's Marilla. Marila.
Marilla. Okay. So that was Field Commander Marilla, or was
Yep.
it a cool?
Yep, Field Commander Marilla. Perfect. But specifically, Melisal Harbor is the BC and Lyson that we talked about beforehand. Cool. So those are the details that are important there. Now that's what I'm just kind of like throwing at you, but because you rolled a 31, do you have questions that I can answer? Things that maybe I didn't cover that you thought were important to kind of like that your characters already know before we have you wasting days trying to search for shit. For instance, do they throw tea into the harbor? Of course not. In the Dalelands, they drink tea. That's why they're losing the war.
We know who did the attack on the barracks.
Oh, yeah, so it's a really good question. So when you find out about that and you're kind of like asking questions inside the garrison about this, nobody really wants to come up with it. But those names that I gave you, Kingsguard, Harbor Masters, and Jihuan Warriors, in that order, are levels of extremism. Like Jihuan Warriors are the most extreme. Those are the ones that are win by any and all means necessary. Right? So it is believed the Jihuan Warriors were the ones that did it.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Okay. Do we have any names of any members? You know what I mean? Are there any?
I actually didn't divide
known-
those names. I didn't design those names, but absolutely, you would have the leader, who
Figureheads.
believes that to be the leader of each organization. That's for specifically the Kingsguard, Harbor Masters, and Jihuan Warriors. You would have that, but it's important to know the Jihuan Warriors aren't from around here. They're from north of here, so you'd have like who's leading like this group of it down here. And it's important to note there are other cells as well, just smaller, less
These are the
impressive
biggest.
cells, like Celsiator, right? So and then
cells that might not have announced a name or like taken credit for something or something like that.
correct. The Dice Lords and the Merchants, again, the Merchants are not an illegal organization. The Merchants are just a Merchants Guild, right? So certainly that's public information for those that care to know it. The Dice Lords, their, what's the word I'm looking for? Identity would also be known because they would personally run like a local gambling operation. As for the Black Knights, they definitely would be people that are more cloak and dagger. So as both a terrorist organization and a they're mostly renowned for wearing masks, and the masks can be as simple as like I think they're called domino masks, or something a little bit more complex. So if there's like a ranking structure of those masks, it's not really known to you guys.
Oh yeah, okay. I googled domino mask. I was like, oh, those. Yeah, fair.
Like Zorro.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why you're like as simple as a dom. No,
Okay,
no,
two-pronged
Google.
question.
Don't search for domino mask. Stop.
Right. So, do we know where either like any of them are rumored to operate, and if so, the danger areas that we've been told? Are any of them particularly
You mean in the city?
Lining up.
held by any of these? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, without breaking down the city into a whole bunch of different boroughs or what's what I'm looking for here? Districts or whatever, right? Yes, you can definitely see. So again, the merchants themselves, most of their Thief Guild stuff they don't have cut purses going out. So this is their kind of work is going to be done with smuggling things in and out of the city, getting supplies that way, so on and so forth. So there's no district or whatever you have to worry about them. With the Black Masks, the Black Knights, they're all over the city. They act in their own way. They're the most cut purse style of people, so on and so forth. With the Dice Lords, you're looking at they're going to be anywhere you can come across like illegal gambling operations. So certainly not in the nicest areas. But hey, certainly if somebody's like, hey, want to do a high stakes gambling game inside somebody's home, they might go to the Dice Lords to have it overseen. That way they know it's being done in a with kind of like respect. Because let's say, for instance, Jake. I wanted to throw a party at my place and wanted to make sure there was some high stakes gambling here, but I wanted to make sure that those that came to the table were held accountable to the rules. I might ask the Dice Lords to host that game for me, because then if somebody tried to do something underhanded at the table, I don't have to worry about chasing them down for the sake of my own benefit, or the Dice Lords take care of that for me, right? Now, of course, I just made a deal with a criminal organization, so there's all the dangers and whatnot to go ahead with that, but that's a responsibility that's out of my hands. Right? So which is why you would imagine people would do that sort of a thing. As for the Jihuan Warriors, again, same idea. Everywhere, anywhere, day or night, asleep or awake, does not matter. If you are around that lake or anywhere closely connected to that lake to the north of you, they are there. That is the way that works. The Harbor Masters are going to be down in the Docks District. That's predominantly where they're going to work, but they can be seen in other areas as well. Those will be cut purses, as well as smuggling goods, stealing stuff, so on and so forth. And then the Kingsguard. The Kingsguard are different. They are more of a military organized group. They are not within the city itself. They have camps outside the city. How big and how many their camps are, unknown. That would certainly be nice to know.
Just a quick question. You were saying like to the north with the lake. With regards to this city, I for a second there it sounded like you were saying like does this city reach the lake?
No. No.
I was gonna say, I was like, hang on, that seems like far away.
Yeah. That's how big is
So
it on the map?
So it's more likely that like maybe the northernmost areas of the city have these people, but
No,
less
they're like
likely-
separate cells.
Yeah, those are also.
yeah, but he
So
was
they'll
saying around the
occasionally-
lake they're gonna
They'll
be.
occasionally travel down, I would presume.
Oh, okay. So you just okay. I think I understand more now.
If you
But like
as
their
a-
main area of operation would be around
The
the
lake.
lake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
okay.
G1
And
warriors,
then-
yeah, they are all over. They're let's say that they're group numbered like 1,000 people strong. You can take 3 people can do a lot of damage if they do so the right way, right?
Okay, yeah.
Look at
so,
yourselves.
Yeah, anywhere. I think I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lake itself, as the crow flies, is I think 30 miles to the north. But if you follow along the lake, the river, which most people would do, that's much longer because it bends. So
yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, awesome. So again, any other questions you would have that your characters intrinsically know?
Not that I can think of right now. Can you remind me what our mission is here again?
We are assessing the factions, figuring out how to best to deal with each faction to make them either amicable or get rid of them or buy them out or make it basically we are not the ones who are going to pacify the area. That's going to be the River King coming in and doing that, but we're finding out the best ways to go about it. Like, for example, there may be some of sorry, just let me bring it up. The King's Guard that might be there here, and if they just given passage back to the Daelins, that might be a way to get rid of them, sort of thing. Because I remember that was one of the options. And then, for example, the merchants, we can definitely make a deal with them. Like that's not someone I don't think we have to get rid of.
I
So
think
we
the
are
Dice
same with
Lords
the Dice
also.
Lords.
Yeah.
To be clear,
The
though,
Black Knights, however, we do. need to
we
deal
are
with.
allowed to pacify.
Well, yeah. Sorry, we are allowed to, but we don't need to. The main thing we're here to do is to assess each of the groups and find out best how to deal with them. And if we can deal with them, deal with them. So we've already got a decent start on this information. Now we just got to figure out more details about each one. I think, unfortunately,
I feel like we're gonna have to
G1
go
warriors-
almost one by one on the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just work
Maybe,
it out
yeah.
like that.
So it's information gathering, and if you think you can have an impact, you're more than welcome to do so, but don't die. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Is don't die. Get as much information
Yeah.
as possible so it can be acted upon.
Is there any reason that Paradel in this province haven't tried to make deals and like almost like sanction, for instance, the Dice Lords? You know, have sanctioned gambling and stuff like that. Like have them run their own thing, but you know what I mean? Like
But
almost like under Paradel, but you know they do their own thing. You know what I mean? So they're amenable.
They would.
So there
I
is-
imagine
there
they would
is
do some
legal
pretty
gambling.
dark things.
There is legal gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's also illegal gambling. Let me give you an example. You want to walk into a place and play poker? No problem. You can walk into a place and play poker. If you want to bet on some exotic animals brought in to the harbor from far off lands fighting each other to the death, that's not going to be legal.
That's a yeah.
Yeah.
You know? So that's it's but they're interested in handling all sorts of gambling operations. So
The other
Yeah.
thing is, I imagine that the ways they deal with people who don't pay are very much probably not legal.
I mean, if you owe an establishment, that's the big thing. Is like real life. If you owe a gambling operation money, you have creditors that come at you. They ruin your credit score, so on and so forth. This place doesn't really have creditors. So what? You're going to be thrown into a prison? Okay, cool. You can be thrown into a prison and whatnot, and then the government then has to pay for you to be in prison because so again, it's one of those things where there aren't a lot of gambling operations for how it is they would come after you afterwards. Certainly your assets would be seized and so on and so forth to be handed over in accordance to parallel law, but that also means you have a limit to how much you're allowed to gamble. If you just want to play poker, but you only have like say 50 gold on you, but you really think that you've got it this time, and you don't want to gamble 50 gold. You want to gamble 500 gold. Well, that's where you go to one of the other games, right? So,
Yeah.
But it's hard because Paradel is a very lawful nation as well.
Well, it's one of those
Not here.
things.
Hey,
What we would be doing is we would
Not
less
here.
likely being like making a deal in terms of like an alliance. It'd more be like, hey, we're gonna properly move in and deal with these other groups. You don't interfere. And then we'll go our separate ways. We have no deal after that sort of
I mean,
thing.
the threat level with them isn't high.
Nope.
It's
No, yeah,
relatively
exactly.
very
Nope,
low.
but the good thing about dealing with them is that you can imagine they probably have access to a lot of information. You can imagine the different people that go in and out of
blackmail
their
information. Yeah.
yeah.
So probably
the merchants. Go ahead,
I
Nick.
would have thought the first place to start would have been. I mean, this is an angle to go at it. Is like Kingsguard or Black Knights. If we literally wipe them out, like devastate them, you then cut a deal with the merchants who have just seen what you've done and are like, well, yeah, okay, being under the protection of Paradel might be useful here, which then forces the Dice Lords to make a deal with you further because they would have been getting a bunch of their stuff via the merchants, right? You need merchants to bring in these animals, etc., etc. And if they are doing things on terms of Paradel, then it suddenly becomes more beneficial to join with Paradel. And then you're left with whichever the
Deal
remaining
with Paradel,
faction
not-
is.
It wouldn't be a case of the Dice Lords aren't gonna suddenly go legal. It'd be a case of they would facilitate the transition. Not would probably be a good way of putting it. They won't get in the way of the transition, but they're still not legal. There's still going to be tensions there.
Also,
I mean, that could be something where you decide to look the other way. On a few
It'd be,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, the deal would probably be they would be allowed to do this, and this, or something. And Paradel would look the other way, but Paradel still wouldn't tolerate with a lot of the really bad stuff, sort of thing.
What was I saying? The Dice Lords wouldn't necessarily use the merchants to smuggle goods in and out either. They might have deals occasionally where they do that, but for the most part, they probably do that stuff themselves. You wouldn't necessarily, because again, the Dice Lords, there are other ways of getting things than just working with another crime organization. Maybe somebody lost a bet and they owe you a favor, and it's that person's responsibility to acquire the assets of a certain value for them to settle the debt, things like that. So, cool. So it's up to you guys where it is that you want to kind of start on this. One of the things I do want to say is I will end just a smidge early today, not quite just yet, because I can already feel my voice starting to get hoarse, and I'm going to be on a conference call for 6 hours today, and I'm actually one of the leaders on the conference call, so I will be talking a fuck ton. Like a real fuck ton. But one of the other things I do want to note is that I'm still working on it for how I want it to play out. But one of the things that's very common here that you would see in kind of like the side alley places for a popular game that's local is a game called Bijou. Bijou is a game that's played with dice that are kind of like cut in funny ways. So what do I have here? So they're dice cut in funny ways. So you have a 5-sided, a 6-sided, an 8-sided, and a 20-sided die. And then depending on how the rules are going, there's also a 2-sided die in there as well, which is just like more or less like a coin toss. But it's called Bijou because it was originally made out of rough cut stones that were found, like rough cut different types of stones. So the dice tends to have, unless you're dealing with a cheap set, they tend to have like a coloration to them, which is like a remnant of the old past. And certainly people that are wealthy Bijou players will have dice specifically cut out of different types of stones, right? So you can imagine a very wealthy person will have it cut out of, diamond if they could, right? Though they'd of course be smaller pieces, or they'd just be very included, so high in carat weight but low in other detailed stones, right? Either way, Bijou would be the name of the local game that a lot of people play. And one of the things with your knowledge local check there is sometimes just getting information from people could be quickly like game of Bijou. and that's how it would go. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Awesome. Any other questions you guys have about this?
I feel like we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, I think we are. Well, we know that the Dice Lords are particularly easy to deal with in terms of like they're the easiest to deal with. Then merchants are probably up there as well because we at least have previous dealings to go with. So we know that they're, as long as there's money involved, but merchants, it would probably be money involved. Yeah, I think the hardest groups to deal with are going to be the Jihuan Warriors and the Black Knights, I think.
Perfect. So unless you guys have a specific path, why don't we end the session with another couple days past of you guys gathering this information, kind of like checking, verifying, so on and so forth, but mostly lying low and being not stupid, and then finally meeting with the commander themselves, right? So we can have you meet with, let me get the name again, Rylor. So it's BC Rylor.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
As opposed to Batsen, which is the Battle Centaurian. So when you guys are finally kind of a runner would come in and send a note to you saying that the BC has returned and has heard that you're looking to seek audience and they're looking to meet with you. And they would call you to their office at the actual garrison itself to speak. Okay? So you guys go there and go walking in. His office is much larger than hers. There actually are seats, so you guys are welcome to go in and take a seat, so on and so forth. One of the important things to note about this battle commander is they're not Perrin. They're actually human, from what you can tell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're in their like early to mid 50s, if you had to guess, but certainly still in good shape. You know what I mean? One of those like, yeah, they might run out of breath quicker than one of the young ones, but they also know how to end a fight quicker than one of the young ones. You know what I mean? So they are, so a human commander, you could go in and he's like, as you are welcomed into the office by one of his like underlings to get the door for you, he says, the delegates from Dween, please, the three of you, come in, have a seat. If you could shut the door behind you on your way out, he says to the other person. And they, of course, do so. I imagine you guys all go in and have a seat.
Yep.
Yeah, you said we knew we could figure out just a little bit about them. Are they born in Peridot?
They were born here.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. So they've been through.
Huh?
Have they been through Inclame then? Is that what
Yeah.
you're suggesting?
It's kind of what I was getting at.
Their parents were so it's one of those things where their parents went through Inclame. And
Right. Okay. They were born here.
but they were born here. But it's one of those funny things where you guys don't know the history well enough. But like the region that they were born into, so on and so forth, it's not known if they also had to serve Inclame, if they were like, you don't know exactly where, when, so on and so forth, but you know that their parents had to serve Inclame. So,
Okay.
but definitely would have to be born here. And if you're not Perrin, you'd have to serve Inclame to be able to be an officer either way. So they've done it one way or the other, but the finer details you don't have. Okay. And they've certainly earned their rank. I mean, that's not a low rank by any stretch of the imagination. It's one of the highest ranks in the military. So either way, so you guys come in. He's like, come in, have a seat. Delegates of Dween. That's what he called you. Do you wait for him to speak first?
Yeah.
Yes.
He called the meeting. He called us, even though we were looking to speak with him. He called us down.
Okay. He says, I see the newly appointed High Commander of Dween has sent you on a task over here to lend aid where they see we seem to be having a bit of a struggle. Please tell me, how is the High Commander doing?
Seems to be
Viggo
settling in
actually
well.
lost it. Tris, yeah.
Yeah. So it seems to be settling in well. He looks at you responding. And as you are the one that responds, he looks over at the BT and kind of like you can see he quickly assesses the scenario. Roll me sense motives.
Ooh. Oops. Ooh.
So Viggo, you can see like, Viggo and Galen are the ones that are able to see. He is looking at the three of you and very much analyzing the three of you, your dynamics, so on and so forth. He's kind of like soaking it in, even just the way that you walked in, so on and so forth. And so when the three of you sit down, he goes, I'm sorry, he's the one that responds, and you two kind of like nod along. He goes, "You three been through some shit together, haven't you?"
We have.
We have.
Pardon me, but I don't have access to your file and what kind of missions, tasks, and the like that you've done before, but I imagine those ranks have each been earned. Each of you have bled for Paradel, right?
Galen would nod.
And each of you have bled for one another.
Indeed.
We have.
So you understand the degree of kinship that happens when you've spent so much time with somebody else, when your life means less than the person that stands at your shoulder. This bears weights with you, doesn't it?
Trying to figure out what he means by that.
Like you'll die for your
Yeah, I'm
brother.
trying to figure out
This
what
is-
he's getting at.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He says, he kind of nods understandingly. So you can understand why it is that people who have bled side by side, arm in arm, together for countless years, while others have faced their own difficulties, but unseen by these individuals, coming in and seeming to barge their way in and making demands would kind of throw them off their footing a little bit. Now, I'm not making any suggestions that anything was done in such a rude way, but you catch my meaning, don't you? Now let's add the additional layer that this is being done by an individual who sees their area of influence stretching well beyond what the predefined boundaries were always understood to be the case for a couple centuries. Borders are always changing, but this is rather extreme changes happening recently. So, with that being said, I will apologize just this once for those under my command for the way that they have treated you and the way that they likely will treat you. I will make it known that this is dissatisfied, but I also will not follow up with any form of recourse for their words. Their actions, however, will be a different conversation. You are well outside of your realm of influence and are not seen as a bombing aid, at least not to those that serve underneath me. Now that we have that out of the way, you would not have been given this task if you weren't competent. There is some degree of confidence from a former master of war. That comes with quite the weights behind it. You're to investigate, as far as I understand.
Correct.
May I see the orders?
Yeah, we'll hand him over.
He takes us several minutes to read them over, making a couple of noises or whatever along the way, but like, haha, like things like that, but not like openly conversing. When everything's done, he's kind of like as he's kind of like slides him back across the desk, he says, "I understand. You're just here to survey. You're not even necessarily here to intervene. I don't see any problem with this. Why have you been given this task, though?"
Like, why have we instead of like specifically us?
You ask
Or-
that because
Yeah.
I as the DM am not offering any more meeting. Do you ask him that?
Oh, okay. If you want to ask him that, you can. But I also have a response, but from what I took from it, I would wait for you to speak, and if you don't, then he would speak, which is how
Yeah,
Galen works.
you can talk.
Galen would just say our skill sets are diverse. We adapt.
He nods. I understand. Do you think that you're going to be successful where so many have failed?
This is where Galen wants to say we have before, but also shouldn't. What was his exact wording? Sorry.
Do you think you're going to be successful where so many have failed?
I wouldn't say that those before us have failed. To push Paradel's borders is a slow process. The borders may advance, but it takes time for people to change.
He nods. He says, "There is some wisdom in this enlistment." No, he says that there's some wisdom in this soldier, and says, "I appreciate that." All right then. Where are you starting? I assume you've spent these past several days not just sitting around and enjoying the local cuisine.
Very nice, though.
I assume we have notes that we can sort of pull out and start looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked through more or less what we learned about the different factions and more or less everything you already told us. We kind of go through.
Yep.
Yeah.
He goes, "You boys really are quick learners, aren't you? That's impressive. Everything you've said is within a step or two of being as I understand it, and that is fairly keen of you to have collected so quickly, especially considering I know you weren't exactly given a warm welcome. So again, kudos to the three of you for that. Where do you intend to start?"
So this is meta. We should discuss this. So I'm not. How much money do we have? Because if we have a decent amount of money, merchants are a good place to start.
We
If
definitely
not
don't.
Dice Lords.
I mean, I got my own personal money that I've been funding our little trips with.
I figured,
But,
yeah.
yeah, let's
And
just
then
say
I think-
that's not up there.
Dice Lords is probably a decent place to start because if we can get information on any of the other groups.
I think we
Yeah, I
should
think
start with
either
the Black Knights.
What is my camera?
Do you say that? We want to start with the Black Knights?
No.
Okay.
I'm saying this meta to
He
these
was-
guys.
he
I
was
think we should
joking.
start with the Black Knights. I think we should literally decimate them.
There's three
Like
of
if-
us and probably like hundreds of them.
There's not hundreds of them.
No, that would be hundreds of them.
The Jihuan warriors are untouchable, right? They're untouchable.
Yeah.
The Kingsguard, potentially, there may be hundreds of them. However, they fight for Daelric, as far as we are aware, truly. The Black Knights, however, fight for Daelric as a mantle to make money. By destroying them, we send a message and ingratiate ourselves with the Kingsguard. And
I definitely see that.
so we send a message to the merchants and the Dice Lords that we aren't to be messed with. We get rid of actual just criminals who are taking advantage of commoners, presumably. And we ingratiate ourselves with the actual rebels, terrorists, whatever you want to call them.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
So
That-
what do you
that
say in
said-
response?
It's quite brutal.
It
You
is
know,
very brutal, but it's
I'm saying we dismantle the organization violently, more or less. And
we don't have to say that that's what we're going to do to him. But if we say we're starting with the Black Knights, then that we can say that.
Okay.
What,
So
what do you think?
who says it?
Greg?
yeah,
Oh,
what's your
just double
opinion?
check that we're doing it first.
Yeah, I mean, if what you said, I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
but I think
it's
the way you've said it as well, I think it does kind of make the most sense. I mean, dealing with the Dice Lords is going to be easy. You know what I mean? Like, it's more of a gathering. Like,
They
we
will
get
make
a lot
a
of
deal,
information
yeah.
through them.
yeah.
We
I
get a lot of
think-
information through them, possibly on the Black Knights. But I mean, I suppose as far as dealing with like a specific group,
I think
what you've said maybe is
So-
probably the best bet.
They're
two
also
additions to this.
they're the
so-
only group that has a distinct feature.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
They all wear masks, more or less, right?
So two things that are extra there is if we work out and finally decide on a name by next week, This would be the sort of situation where having a name and having it be like, oh, if we go with the Kingfishers wiped out the Black Knights. That would
Maybe I was
like,
influenced by the Batman mug, but yes.
yeah, that's the sort of thing where we can start not only making a name for ourselves, but using that name and as influence to help with the other groups.
Like the Kingsguard are effectively a small army or militia, and so it's dangerous to attempt to deal with them in any way until we have established a reputation.
I think
the Jihuan warriors are too big, and again, I think that's probably something we can't touch until last.
If we can find out with the Kingsguard what their motivations are and stuff, because if they say they're for the Dale King and all of that stuff, they might be like sunk cost fallacy sort of thing. They can't get out of here. But if they truly want to serve the Dale King, if we provide them if Paradale offers them passage out, the Kingsguard, sorry. If Paradale provides them passage.
The problem is that this is their lands.
Well, that's the thing. We would find out whether they're fighting.
Like you said, it's possibly our best bet to start with here. So maybe we just go with the threat that we're going to deal with first is the Black Knights.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be hard, but I feel like if we pull it off, that'll be the best sort of foothold and start for the rest of them.
Perfect. Yeah. So then, just because I'm gonna have to shore this up kind of quickly. What is the actual response you say for where do you want to start?
I would say the Black Knights.
Ballsy, you three are. Wow, Black Knights. All right. Have you thought of a tactic yet, or is that something you're going to devise?
It's something we will come up with in the coming days. So far, we've been information gathering, and obviously, with everything we've done so far.
They're a Cloak and Dagger organization. Its individual members are not known because they always wear minor disguises. So it makes it a little bit difficult to track them down. Usually what ends up happening is we either capture or kill them in the middle of one of their actions, or we're able to injure them in such a way that they're more easily identified later on. There was an Inquisitor that was here for a short while, lent to us by the Arcane Congress, who had the ability to mark them. That helped for a bit. Unfortunately, they've had to move on, and we haven't had that kind of talent around recently to assist us. That being said, you have the supports of my support for the actions that you intend to do here. They will not follow you around as lackeys, but when you need them, I'm going to give to you I clicked away from it because I'm a dumb mother effer. I am going to give to you a platoon of soldiers.
Oh, wow.
This is that score of soldiers will be able to serve you as needed, where and when you need. They stay here at the barracks. They'll be going through their training at the barracks. They do everything they need to do here at the barracks. So when you need them, you will come here to collect them. Again, we've already discussed mutual feelings. Keep that in mind. Battle tactician. Unless there's anything else you boys need.
One thing I would like to ask is if we do manage to capture one alive, an appropriate place to question them. Viggo lets that hang, obviously, because hopefully you can pick up what he means.
An appropriate place to question them? You mean like less than legal
somewhere to take them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. He nods and says, there are places for interrogation. Some nearby and some a little bit further. We can discuss those details when we come across them. But we certainly have places where interrogation can be done. Last thing I'll say before you boys leave this room. Understand you're not in Dween anymore, or Paranhia, or even Jovincia, Vala, Bard, wherever you're from. we are not there any longer. So things might be a little bit different than you're accustomed to.
Yes, Viggo will get up, salute, and he'll actually, for what it's worth, give like a Dalish farewell, spoken in Dalish.
Okay. He will just nod. He doesn't respond in kind.
Yeah.
And with that,
Obviously, Galen salutes too.
yep, of course,
And then,
interesting as well. Anybody want to say anything before we bounce out of here?
I'm good.
no, I think that's a perfect place.
All right, cool, awesome. So 20 soldiers under your commands. You have a place to start, and so
That's
on and so forth.
fantastic.
Cool.
That means if we run into the situation where we really need more than just 3 people to deal with, like we find out there's like a meeting of a bunch of them, we can bring in soldiers as backup.
Yep. And a battle tactician is allowed to have 20 soldiers serve under them. So,
Perfect.
cool. All right, let's get out of here. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out. There, in theory, will be a Lost Initiative session tonight. In theory, because like the text back and forth is a little bit weird. But Tyler and Pat. Sorry, Pat is hanging out with Tyler, and Rena is, I think, doing something with work. So it would just be Wade, Messy, and myself. I definitely know I can do with them, so it'll be a shorter session. It's just whether or not everybody's that they're actually truly available, because there was another question mark there too. So most likely a Lost Initiative later on, but a shorter one with less crew. All right, thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Mhm.